Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Jets Radio. This is one of your hosts, Tyson Roush, and this show is going to be chaos. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. This is going to be complete bonkers based on our timeline. So let me introduce the man of the people, Long Beach Joe. What's up, man?
What's going on, Ty? Yeah, a lot of moves we've made, a lot of stuff we need to talk about. This is going to be a crazy show.
Dude. We got a team full of stars. Joe Douglas is a genius. These guys are all great. Life is great. Bring on the Super Bowl. I'm not talking playoffs, AFC East. This guy is a genius. Super Bowl bound. Here we come, baby.
Oh, great. Well, all right. If that's how you feel, I respect, your take. But, there's
we have Joe Douglas, Joe. You don't understand who we have. We have Joe Douglas. This guy does no wrong. Everything he does is right, at the right price, at the right value, at the right time. He does no wrong. You know what, Joe? Yeah, we should end free agency right now and give him Executive of the Year tonight. End it. The guy is a guru.
All right. Well, if that's how you feel, that's fine. Like I said, I still think this team, has some things, some kinks that need to be worked out, but we'll get into that. Listen, I'm the man of the people. I'm here for the people. Let me shamelessly promote our Facebook page. Everyone go on Facebook, search Let's Talk Jets Radio. Like that page, our content's up there. Go ahead and give it a listen. Message us. We'll message you right back. We love going back and forth with folks about this football team. Also, leave us some feedback. We love hear what you folks think we do here on Let's Talk Jets Radio. So without further ado, Ty, let's go ahead and get into the show, man. I'm fired up.
Oh, I'm beyond fired up, dude. I could not wait for this show. I cannot wait. I can't wait. I'm like, wait, look, I even got sound for this show. I got sound for this. Hold on. Where is it?
Here we go. This
could be one of these shows. Joe, can't wait. So, as always, we're on YouTube, Let's Talk Jets Radio, Instagram, and Twitter, which everybody knows because our accounts are complete chaos, at Talk Jets Radio. If you get a chance, please check out Let's Talk Mental Health on YouTube. We appreciate that. We hope everybody is safe, everybody is healthy, everybody is staying home. Very trying times. So if we can give you a little distraction for a couple hours, it's really cool. We apologize for the technical difficulties last week. No idea what happened, and we got no response. But, Joe, I want to give an open invite tonight. All these people that are on my timeline call me a jackass, a fraud, everything. Please call in. Please. I'm begging them. You know what I want them to do? Joe, this is what they should do. Take a real big gulp of the Kool-Aid they're drinking when they have their green-colored glasses on. Take a big sip. No, have 2 sips, maybe 3 sips. Take a shot of whiskey, too, and call in and share your nonsense with me. Please. I enjoy it. And then when you unfollow me, you don't have to tell me that you're unfollowing me. Just do it. I'm not going to care. I can have no followers. I really don't care. Here's what's going on. Joe Douglas is not a man that can't, all of a sudden, Joe Douglas can't be questioned. Every move he makes is perfect. Everything is great. There is calculated risk with everything he's doing. And the same people that are praising him, and they're calling him, the best ever, are probably the same clowns that look like McCagnon. Because we can go move by move. And listen, if you think that we have our offensive line solidified right now, you're out of your mind. If you think that wide receivers no big deal, corners no big deal, dude, this is a rebuild, and we're doing it at a cost-effective manner. And it's just everything. Oh, this is great. Everybody's talking playoffs. Everything is fixed. Yeah. Sam is going to flourish. Yeah. What in the hell is going on here, dude? Seriously? The same Alex Lewis people didn't want back, we signed him back, and now he's great. Dude, seriously?
Yeah.
What the hell happened now? How much Kool-Aid is being served out there? Is it the quarantine? Is that what it
is? Well, look, first off, it's crazy. People are always they just go off on you week after week. It's absolutely nuts. But I tell you what, listen, you can follow me at YoungJ000. That's 30.
Unfollow me. I don't care where that's at. I don't really care. Dude, you don't know what you're talking about. You know what I don't know what I'm talking about? I've watched this team for years. You know what I'm tired of hearing, Joe? This is what I'm tired of hearing already. Joe Douglas has an excellent resume. He's got an excellent background. Ravens, Eagles, the front office is overhauled. This front office hasn't drafted a friggin' player yet. And all of a sudden now is, we're just going to draft that. We're just going to draft that. We're just going to draft that. The answer for everything is draft. So we only have, 6, 7 picks? We're not going to hit on all of them. And your answer, and when you draft a player, as we've learned, so we're speaking from experience, the draft is not a guarantee. We may justify every pick and tell how great every pick is, but we can't assume because we have number 11, we're going to get a lock there. The second-round pick is another player. 2 third-round picks is 2 players. We're not guaranteed 4 Pro Bowlers there. We're not guaranteed 4 answers. We're just not. But everybody's telling me we are. Don't worry about it, dude. You're overreacting. All the guys we signed are really good. There is some risk, but whatever we don't get, we're just going to draft the answer. Okay, cool. Nope, it's so friggin' easy, dude. This is so easy all of a sudden. Simple. We've had, back-to-back general managers that couldn't do, but this guy is going to be easy for him. Walk in the park.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. And I said this, last week when a lot of those guys had gotten signed that we were claiming over. and I understand Joe Douglas not wanting to just blow the bank. I get that. But I think even with some of the signings that we have, our offensive line still needs, power. It still needs some players, particularly at the tackle position. I don't think George Fenton is a starting left tackle. I don't even know who the hell should be starting a right tackle, but it shouldn't be any of the guys we had before. So I'm like, whoa, we still have some needs there. Look, I like Alex Lewis. I think he's a solid guard, but I'd rather him be a backup to a guy, that we brought in that would upgrade that position. Like you said, I remember people going off about Alex Lewis last year. We were talking about him. He was on that line when we were the 32nd worst offense in the league. He was on that line when we were getting beat by 3-man fronts. He was on that line when we were getting, we got beat by the Dolphins, we got beat by the Bengals. He was on those lines where we didn't look very good, So I'm kind of wondering, okay, I get it. Greg Van Roten isn't necessarily a name that I heard from anyone in the fan base at all clamoring about. But, so a lot of these guys are swing guys. A lot of these guys are guys that,
what pisses me off, Joe? Pisses me off? I got to cut you off. You know what pisses me off, too? What really pisses me off, too? No, I'm on a roll today. Listen, my goal is to be unfollowed by everybody because I don't care anymore. What I'm so tired of is people take them all go follow Young Joe, Young J 000, whatever the hell it is. Follow Joe,
there you go.
Unfollow.
There you go.
But dude, here's the deal: all these linemen that we're signing, I'll be honest, I don't know any of them. I don't know nothing about them. What I do is the same thing everybody else does. Dude, seriously, what did everybody do? They go to Pro Football Focus, they go to Roto-World, they go read the same goddamn analysis, they go to Connor Rogers, read his review, then they regurgitate the same goddamn thing. And then they say, well, go look at the tape. They go watch YouTube highlights and say, look, I watched 2 highlights, man. This guy's a Pro Bowl caliber player. We don't know what the hell we have. We have no idea. Furthermore, not only do we not know what we have, we got to know, are they going to be coached up right under Frank Pollock? What kind of offense is Adam Gase going to have? And can they gel as a unit? There's no guarantees anywhere. And if we're really being honest about things, all these guys have risk associated to them, but nobody wants to say that because everybody's busy kissing Joe Douglas's ass. The fact of the matter is, Joe, look, Fant is risky. Greg Van Roten these are blue collar guys, but they're not. These aren't like A-tier guys. And nobody's mentioned these players. We were talking about Conklin and Thuney and Glasgow. Nobody mentioned these guys 2 weeks ago. And now everybody's like, yeah, I told you so. This is the way to go. This was the right plan. You don't even know who the frick these guys are. You have no idea who these guys are. And to tell me now we're all fit at left tackle? Are you out of your friggin' mind? We're not fit at left tackle with a risky guy? Jesus Christ, dude. What the hell happened to this fan base? How much is out there right now? Good Lord.
Well, listen, I want to show respect to, everybody in the fan base. I love all Jets fans, but I have my own look and perspective on this situation. But as I was saying, Greg Van Roten isn't the guy that people were, clamoring for at all. Like, he could be a decent guy, but everyone going to watch these highlights and thinking, oh, I know who this guy is because I watched the highlight tapes. Highlight tapes are literally made to showcase all their highlights. It doesn't show you all the plays. It doesn't show you the full story. So don't watch a highlight tape and think a guy's just out of this world before you really go watch this guy. So I think the best signing along the offensive line that, Douglas made was the Connor McGovern. I mean, to me, it's just like, it just leaves your head spinning. So I'm wondering, as we're doing these things and we're setting these things up, it's like, okay, well, what's going on? How is this offense going to function with some of the issues that we could possibly still face? And also, when you're going into this draft, does this change the way your draft board looks? Because to me, I still think you need to draft offensive line in the first round. To me, a lot of these signings didn't change that. And so I'm wondering still, up front, particularly where we're all looking at saying, hey, this is a unit we must upgrade. We must get better here. Like, there is no doubt about it. I'm still wondering, sitting here looking at this, did we get better? And I don't think we necessarily did overall. Connor McGovern, I think, was a little bit of an upgrade, from what we had. But outside of that, it's like, did we get better everywhere else? Not really. So I question that. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, McGovern, you look at what everybody said about him as a center. He's good. Jonathan Harrison's still there, so you had that. But it's like, dude, a lot of these guys, if you look at true, honest analysis, honest now, if you go to, neutral sites with neutral people that have nothing vested. And, Steve, you know what? I don't care if you like the way the show started. Turn it off, Steve. Hang up your phone. Don't listen if you don't like it. I don't care. I don't care.
Come on.
But
come on,
dude,
man.
Who cares? Not a good way to start the show. Turn it out. Don't listen. But Joey, if you look at an analyst that has no ties to the New York Jets, is not paid to give analysis and to sugarcoat it, there is risk with each of these players. There are some concerns, there are some issues, and there's also positives. I mean, Pierre Desir, 1-year contract, Brian Poole coming back, that's fine. They're all good. But the other thing is, too, is we also got to look at what we're doing here. He's trying to find Band-Aids and pieces to get us through the season to kind of figure out what he has. All these 1-year contracts, Joe, guess what's going to happen next year? We got to start all over again.
Yeah.
It's a 1-year fix. It's like Band-Aids. Okay, we found this. Maybe we can get him signed next year. What happens next year? We could be very well in the same boat next year.
Yeah, and that's what I looked at as well. Outside of the offensive line, I thought he did make some nice signings elsewhere. I will say that. I thought that bringing back Poole was a good re-signing. Getting Neville Hewitt back was a solid re-signing. Arthur Millette as well. Getting Jordan Jenkins back on a 1-year deal, I think like $5 million, which I think was a solid re-signing. But like you said, a lot of these are 1-year deals. So you're going to be back in that market again next year, trying to search to fill those positions, or you're going to have to try to, go at it once again and try to re-sign these guys. But the good thing that we will have on our side next year is we'll have, a bit of cap money because, a lot of the things, cap issues that we have this year are going to be off. So we'll have a little bit more cap money, and, hopefully we can address those things. But I will agree with you there. A lot of these 1-year deals, it's like you're going to be right back in that same situation next year, and you didn't necessarily find a way to solve it. I would have liked to seen him get longer deals, particularly with guys like Neville Hewitt and Jordan Jenkins, if possible. But we just
even Brian Poole
spot there, man. Yeah, Brian Poole. You'd like to see at least a 2-year deal for him too, if you could. But we're just in a tough spot, man. Really tough spot. And like I said this. Again, when a lot of those top-tier guys are flying off the board, and people are like, we don't need those guys, even though callers were raving about guys that were flying. I'm talking about those are must-gets. We must have these guys. And they were going, we don't need them anymore. It's like, listen, man, you're gonna have to address that, and he's putting so much of an emphasis on his draft. He has to hit on a lot of these picks, or we're going to be in even worse situations if he's not willing to spend a little bit to really get guys in here.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've angered the masses, dude. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's nothing new. Pissing people off is nothing new. You know what I mean? So I'm pretty used to that. But, look, I understand where people are coming from. Like I said, I thought he did some good things. My biggest questions were along that offensive line because, again, for me, my thought process when we're talking about this team, it always starts with Sam. And if we're talking about Sam again, the clock's ticking. That rookie year deal is coming to a close soon. Is he being put in the correct position for success here? Is this going to be another year where he's running for his life because guys are screaming off the edge at him? I don't know if George Fant is a guy that I want out there, protecting his blind side or just protecting him at all as a starter. There's some questions, but I'm waiting to see. Like I said, I'm not jumping off the Joe Douglas bandwagon. I'm not saying he's trash. I'm not saying we should fire him. None of those things. I'm willing to, continue forward and see how the draft works out, see what he does there. But there's some questions about some of the guys he signed. I understand you got a penny pinch here and there, but man, there was just a lot of guys that we could have had for numbers that were way lower than what we thought they were initially going to get.
And then that's my whole point. Listen, we're all fans. We want to see the team do well. I mean, obviously we want to see the team win, everything else, but I'm not at the point with Joe Douglas where everything he does I agree with. Like, he's not earned that with me, where it's like, I'm still going to look at it as an innocent observer, as some fan that drinks beer, and say, listen, this is what I think. And be objective about it and say, listen, this team entered the offseason with needs at what? Left tackle, the whole offensive line, including left tackle, center, pass rusher, wide receiver, and how many do we really address? Left tackle still an unknown. We really don't know what we have there.
Yeah.
I can make a very good argument that at number 11, we still need a left tackle, or you look at Trent Williams. Center, I think, is okay. The rest of the line, you can say maybe okay. Wide receiver, we got a one-year deal with Perryman. Who knows? We still need help there. Pass rusher, we brought back Jordan Jenkins, who's a very good player. He's not the elite pass rusher, the explosive guy we're looking for. Still a concern there.
No.
I mean, he made moves, but we still have questions. And what I'm getting really tired of is everybody assuming that we're just going to easily draft all our answers and we have no issues. Because we still have issues, and there's still holes. So, we don't even have we don't have a backup quarterback. We don't have backup running backs. And look, you're looking at wide receiver. Everybody's telling me that, dude, you're overreacting. Do we have a short-term memory here? Do we not remember what Mark Sanchez went through? Joe, we talked about it for an entire offseason. Dude, we got to build around Sam Darnold. We got to give Sam Darnold weapons. We got to do all these things. Priority number one. Okay, then what are we doing? So right now you have Chris Herndon coming. It was still a question mark, by the way. Chris Herndon is not a lock at anything. He's got
a gigantic question mark.
Right?
Goodness gracious.
Everybody's telling me, dude, you don't understand. Okay, I don't understand. Chris Herndon's got a lot to prove. Ryan Griffin. Le'Veon Bell, grossly misused. We don't know who his backup is. Then we have Jamison Crowder, who's a very good slot corner. Perryman, who had a very good end to last year, kind of like, whatever. Quincy Minwa, don't even know if he's healthy. Braxton Berrios, not really sure. And now people are trying to sell me, Joe, here it is. Vincent Smith is the answer. We don't need to draft anybody to get Vincent Smith. Have you heard nothing here? Like, seriously? Come on, man. What happened in the last month that changed everybody's minds? We need playmakers, man, elite playmakers. Like, what happened, Joe? Like, where did we all go wrong here?
Well, I just think, I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know exactly what happened. But I tell you what, when I look at this draft that's coming up, I don't know if you can really make an argument that you shouldn't take a left tackle. I don't know if you can.
You have to.
If you don't, or if you do, then that means you're going to pass up weapons like CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, maybe if Henry Ruggs is still there. And isn't that what we need as well? Sam hasn't had a true number one target since he's gotten here. Hell, we haven't had a homegrown true number one wide receiver drafted and been able to stick here for I don't know how long. So it's like, dude, where do you go? You could make an argument looking at this that we probably be better off trading down from 11 to continue to stockpile picks. I mean, this is it's. I don't know exactly, what we're going to do there, but there's so many options that are coming because of some of the signings that we've had. I don't know what we're going to do. I really, really don't. But we need to find some way to really address a lot of these issues that we got coming up front. Because yet again, I keep telling people that rookie year deal is taking something. I know folks are acting like they don't care, like, oh, it's just easy to build a team. Don't worry about that. We'll give him whatever. Let me tell you something. There are guys coming up right now that are going to push those numbers north. I think $35 million right now is what the top quarterback is making as far as the most a year. I think it's $35 million. I think it's Russell Wilson. Let me tell you, there's guys like Mahomes, Watson coming up for deals. Lamar Jackson's going to be coming up for a deal the same year as Sam. They could push those numbers north. We could be talking about possibly giving Sam $40 million. Look at what Goff's deal is doing to the Rams right now. Look at what it's doing. They have to get rid of guys. Yep. And Goff is, no disrespect to the Rams, no disrespect to Rams fans, no disrespect to Goff, but Goff he's not as good as Sam Darnold. So let me tell you something. You better make a decision on who this guy is, and you're going to have to try to either build a team, with him having all of that money on your cap, taking up a good, 30% plus of your cap. You're going to have some issues there. You're definitely going to have some issues. So it's going to be. It's going to be crazy to watch what Joe Douglas does going forward because, we have so many issues on this roster.
No, I agree. So as always, our call-in's 929-477-2651. Call in, share your thoughts, and the whole goal is not to, obviously it's going to start debates because that's what we do, but the thing is, listen, It's cool to be excited. We're making moves. We're trying to make progress, but we're objective here. Like, we're not paid by the Jets. We're not told to be positive. I really don't care. Like, we just say, we call it like we see it, and we're trying to be honest about things and objective. Well, and if something smells, Joe, that's it, though. Like, it's hard to look at things and say, listen, everything is so great. Like, listen, George Fant could be a breakout player and a genius signed by Joe Douglas. He could also be a complete bust and play on the right side and not be worth $9 million in 1 year. We have no idea. It's not a lock. Like, to me, the only given is probably McGovern. The other guys, you got to kind of keep your fingers crossed a little bit.
You know what it is, and I think I figured out what it was because you said fear? Earlier, what is going on? Yeah, no, it's not fear.
I'm loaded up with alcohol, more specifically vodka, whiskey, beer, tequila, more.
This is why they get at you the way they get at you. You talk about they're drunk, it's beer, it's this. Come on, man. These are smart people. These are smart Jets fans that want to be excited. But what I think it is about a lot equals, extremely different results. They don't look at, like, the talent that's there. And a lot of them don't. They just think, oh, well, here's a different name. He's definitely got to be, 10 times better than the guy we had before. And that's not always the case in some of these guys. That's why I heard people raving about George Fant, talking about his basketball background. It's like, wait a second. Did you, watch this guy with the Seahawks? You gotta look at some of those things. So that may be, some of the kind of the thought process going on there.
Yeah, so we'll go to calls. Why not go to calls and see how this all plays out? Like I said, it's just about fun conversation here to talk about this team. There's some good moves. There's some moves you don't know about, and there's some, you never know. But we're going to, since this person said that we did a terrible start to our show, Joe, we might as well bring him on right away. So we're going to bring on Steve. Steve, what's up, man?
Hey, guys. How you doing tonight?
The question is, how are you doing, Steve?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for calling in. We really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Well, man, first off, I just want to say, I hope you and you, Joe, are staying safe from the coronavirus, man. Everybody all stay home. Wash your hands thoroughly.
You too, man. It's definitely some crazy times here. So what are your thoughts on free agency?
Here's the thing. I understand, where Joe Douglas is coming from because, Joe Douglas, doesn't want to overspend. He's trying not to do like what McCagnet did. But, another thing is also, too, is, with Robbie leaving, I said this on Twitter about 10, 15 minutes ago, but I just wanted to say to Robbie Anderson, thank you for his 4 years here of being with the Jets, and, I wish him the best of luck, out in Carolina with the Panthers. He was I did like him as a player, but, was not a number one receiver, but you know what? It was time to move on. So, to Robbie, I wish him the best of luck, man. For Perriman, I actually like the pickup of Perriman.
Is he a number one receiver?
Definitely, I see him more as a number 2 receiver, Perriman.
I have a question for you. Can I ask you a question?
Okay.
If you're not going to re-sign Robbie Anderson, then why didn't you trade him last year?
When I look at this, I know the Jets were really trying to, but I guess they really couldn't find a deal done. I know Robbie and the Jets organization was going to try to keep him here, but I know Robbie wanted a lot of money. But, it is a business at the same time, though. But, you know what? Now looking at Perriman.
No. But the market fell into their hands. The wide receiver market didn't explode. The market was there for him. What the Jets offered him was right there. They were in that $9-10 million range. They were right in the ballpark to keep him. So it's not like he asked for crazy money. They just didn't want to bring him back, it seems like. Because they're trying to get really, really cheap. Because he didn't leave. He left for $20 million, $12 million in year one, $8 million next year, which actually would help them. So what is it then?
I don't know what it is really off the top of the story, but I guess maybe it had to do because he won. Maybe it had to do with Matt Rule. I mean, because I guess he had a good relationship with Matt Rule.
Yeah, if you're Joe Douglas, though, Steve, if you're Joe Douglas and you say, you know what, we're going to turn down the trade offer. Say it's a fourth-round pick. Just say it's a fourth-round pick for argument's sake. We're going to turn that down. If you keep him on the roster for the last, whatever it was, 6 games, 8 games, whatever the hell it is, don't you kind of have to make a commitment and say, listen, we want to keep him not only for these 6 games or whatever the hell it was, we also want to re-sign him too. Let's make this kind of a priority. Isn't that kind of your responsibility? Because now you're getting no compensation for him.
I mean, I guess it is your responsibility, but at the same time, maybe it just kind of looked like this. Maybe an agreement just couldn't happen, and that's why he chose to move on. But you know what? At the end of the day, we just gotta move on, Tyson. We just gotta move on.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for calling in, Steve. I think the year to trade, Robbie, was the year before this last season when McCagney was here. They should have gotten rid of him and traded him to the Eagles. I think the Eagles were offering a 3rd-round pick or a 4th-round pick then. I know they tried to move him just this past season before the trade deadline, but I don't think that there was a lot of people there that were really willing to give the type of compensation and then also give Robbie, an extension for his deal so he wouldn't have to walk, into a free agency on them. So we should have moved him, 2 years ago? That would have been the best thing to do, but we didn't. He walks away, but we end up bringing in Perriman. But I want to get your thoughts on this, Steve. What are your thoughts about us bringing back Millette, man? Because there's some issues there at corner that a lot of people aren't talking about. I know people, love Pierre Desir, but there's a number 2 position that's wide open. Do you think Millette could fill that?
I could definitely see Millette filling in at the number 2 corner position. I like the idea of the fact that we brought back Arthur Millette. The thing is, though, when I look at the corner position, I look at Arthur Millette at number 2. Brian Poole is our slot corner. Very happy with Brian Poole coming back. He was last week. I said before the end of my call last week that Brian Poole was the number 1 person who I think we should have brought back. And the next day on that Wednesday, I like bringing Millette back too, Joe, because Millette definitely showed some promises last year. After when Tremaine Johnson was benched last year, thank God he's gone. And Darryl Roberts gone. I think Arthur Millette is definitely going to fit in a better role in Greg Williams' defense than Darryl Roberts did.
Yeah, I think so, too. I mean, there's still some moves to be made. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Nate Hairston. I mean, Bless Austin's still there, so they still have some corners. But, Steve, now when you bring back Burgess and you bring back Neville Hewitt, who both are good, Neville Hewitt's, special teams, Burgess special teams, they both played well. Now you have all these middle linebackers. And you have Blake Cashman in the fold. What do you do with Avery Williamson?
See, that's so hard. I mean, because the thing was last year, what I was really looking forward to, and even though we didn't get to see this last year, was C.J. Mosley and Avery Williamson playing together. Honestly, I wouldn't let Avery Williamson go because Avery Williamson is a tackling machine, and I would love to see Avery Williamson and C.J. Mosley together. And I think having Neville Hewitt and James Burgess are very good backups.
Well, Steve, first of all, I want to thank you for calling in tonight. I hope you and your family stay safe, and we'll talk to you next week, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. Have a good night, Tyson. Good night.
You too. See, Joe, now do I get credit? We didn't fight at all. We stayed civil. Everything was fine.
I'm shocked. First off, I want to thank Steve for calling in. He's used to your abuse. He didn't let you get to him this week. But he called in. He had solid takes as usual, man. There was nothing you could pick a fight with Steve about. He stood up to you and stood his ground.
We're going to go to Chris in New Jersey. Chris, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? I got a bone to pick with Tyson.
Perfect,
Tyson,
let's go.
You're killing me, man. Tyson, I love you.
Let's go.
I love your show, but You're killing me, dude. You're telling me to check the draft history because I said it sucks that, okay, Robbie's leaving, but the draft class is so deep in wideouts. Why would we be so worried about Robbie Anderson? What if the draft class wasn't so deep? Why would we even let him test the open?
Listen, I'm not saying the draft class isn't deep, but before they signed Perryman, at that point, the Jets only had Crowder and Quincy there. So it's like you got to draft 2 receivers, and it's not a slam. It's not a slam dunk. Like
the draft class. Oh no.
So so no matter what 2 receivers the Jets pick, they're guaranteed starters. No problem, easy.
No matter what receiver they pick in the first 4 rounds, they're starters. Have you seen this draft class? Listen, this draft class.
Have you seen how the draft works?
Never mind the draft works. We got a new GM in town. This is not the old Jets. We got a new GM, right? What means what? That means that we got a smart guy who's going to be calling the shots now and drafting players, right? Like, dude, I love your intensity. I love what you mean for the Jets, but you're wrong on this one. You and I'm C-Consig. That's my handle on Twitter, and you and I have been going at this for like the last 2 hours. You know who I know, and I just I know exactly who you are. I'm not listening. I appreciate your passion. I'm not going into any draft blindly, assuming that because we have 4 picks, all 4 picks are going to be good. Bro.
How much you're talking nonsense?
You're not looking into the draft. The draft.
You're looking into the Kool-Aid, man. The draft is fine. There's no guarantees. How many times did Jets pick in the first round? The guy's the guarantee?
No, but he's going to be drafted high, right?
Wait. What was Leonard Williams? Was Leonard Williams the best player in the draft? How'd that work out for us?
At the time, and what? First year, wasn't he great?
Oh, at the time. Yeah. So how'd it work out? Was that a given?
Football, man. But that's any
that's football. You just made my point for me. So it could be
any team at any time.
We're not guaranteed to pick. Right, which means we can get a good one or a bad one.
Tyson, please.
Exactly.
Dude, what I'm saying is,
any team, any time.
Robbie Anderson leaving is terrible. It is, because that's one of Darnold's great targets, and they gel well together. Any Jeff Fan will tell you that. But it's not the end of the world. And you know what?
I didn't say it was.
We still have to go O-line. Still.
I agree.
You can get a great wideout in the next couple of rounds, and they're starters. They're starters.
But Chris, can I ask you this question? If they weren't going to re-sign him, shouldn't they have traded him last year?
No, because they weren't. They probably, they should have, but they probably weren't getting the value they thought they would get from free agency at the time. If they wanted to do something, they could have given them a tender this year, but they did it last year, so they couldn't. This year they gave him a second-round tender. This year they did not have the option.
I'd rather have a fourth-round pick than nothing.
No, you wouldn't. Not with this draft class. No, that's not right.
He left for nothing. We got no compensation for him. I'd rather have.
What do you mean?
No compensation. Robbie Anderson just left.
He worked out his contract. That's what it is. Look, okay.
Yeah, so I'd rather trade at the trade deadline.
Yes, but that's not here or there. That's gone, man. That's last season. What we're talking about
that's called roster management, though.
No, it's called Joe Douglas is taking over, and he's not overpaying for one guy, and he's not looking into, okay, well, we need a wideout, and okay, let's be loyal to Robbie and pay him more money. No, he's not doing that. He's saving cap space, which is the right thing to do. And this is what we've needed for so long. You know,
he's saving it, because you do realize all these one-year deals means we're in the same spot next year.
Yeah, but you know what, Tyson? How many other teams have one-year deals? Everyone. We all got 1 year deals going on.
How many teams entered the offseason with 25 free agents and holes everywhere without premier playmakers at almost every position?
Who's got premier players at every position? Give me the all-pro, all-match.
Right now, tell me who on offense, who are playmakers? Le'Veon Bell, they don't use right, and what? Jamison Crowder's not an elite playmaker. He's a very good slot corner. That's it.
You don't value Bell, Crowder, Darnold? What's the matter with you? We got plenty of playmakers.
Bell was misused last year, and now you're going to sell Crowder as a game-breaking player?
Last year. Tyson, what I'm trying to tell you, even on Twitter, forget last year. This is this year, man.
Okay, I'm looking at
this year. We're going into the Douglas era.
Tell me how this offense is going to be explosive right now. Tell me how. Where's it coming from?
The offense isn't put together yet because we haven't gone through the draft or the waiver wire. We don't even have an offense put together yet. That's crazy.
So then why can't I question what they're? So why can't I question what we're doing? Because now we're relying on the draft, and the draft is not a certainty.
Yeah, but you didn't even question the draft. You just questioned about Robbie being traded and telling me that it was the end of the world.
I never said it was the end of the world. Listen. No, I said if you're not going to resign him, you trade him. No, right? Because everybody's telling me.
Are you not upset like everyone else that Robbie Anderson is gone?
I can give him that. He's not going to make or break my night. But I'm telling you, they need to have a plan. And everybody assuming the draft is a slam dunk is crazy. We should know better by now. I don't care if Joe Douglas.
I'm not saying it's a slam dunk, but
he has a lot to prove.
You've got to look at the draft. You've got to look at the draft, though, man. Why do you think Robbie Anderson's free agency is so lukewarm? Will you see any other wideouts getting a big contract? Like, no. Nobody is. You know why? Because there's a lot of guys, there's a lot of kids coming out. So we don't have to
Mark Cooper got a huge
love him.
Yep,
Listen, even though but Robbie Anderson is not a huge name. He's an awesome number 2. Awesome. Is he a good number 1? Nobody knows. He's never played a number 1. So why are we sweating this? Listen, we can get a number 2, no problem in the draft.
But Chris, we don't understand. I'm not sweating Robbie leaving. I'm worried about Sam Darnold when he finally gets protection, having nobody open, and he's going to get his ass kicked. I want to see him have playmakers around him. So you want to let Robbie walk? Fine. But to tell me that the draft is a given, I'm not buying it until I actually see it. And then the other thing is, how many rookie receivers contribute to the work? It takes a year to get used to the NFL.
Exactly.
Oh, really? Why don't we look at all the last year guys in year 1 and how they blew it up? How many of those guys? A lot.
Okay, right? Joe translate this.
Same draft class.
So Joe, now to translate this, we're going to draft a receiver and then have to start year 1. So that's easy. This is Joe Douglas made, man. Executive of the year. Well, my apologies.
Yeah. Look, first off, Rick, I want to thank you for calling in. Look, I want to thank you for calling in. And I hear what you're saying. I wasn't necessarily a big proponent of giving Robbie, anything north of $10 million a year. So I can see why Joe Douglas let him go.
I agree.
But at the same time, when you look at this draft and what we're going to have to draft, we have a lot of holes, and we have limited capital. We still need help at wide receiver. We still need extreme help at running back depth. I think we still need
every other team
help.
is having the same talk show conversation right now. They all have hosts.
Well, no. Not every other team was dead last in the NFL offensively. So I hear what you're saying, but there's extreme help that we need here, and that's why I want to start with you. I was talking a little bit about the offensive line, and I'm looking at some of these signings, and I was trying to Connor McGovern. I'm saying to myself, there's still a need here. Do you feel the same way, or do you think the offensive line has been filled out adequately?
The offensive line is absolutely not done. Sant is not the answer at left tackle. They are going to draft, in my opinion, they will draft in round 1 a tackle. They're going for depth. Joe Douglas is looking for quantity, not quality. Flip that. Quality, not quantity.
One second, though. And don't laugh at me, Tyson. Look, I hear what you're saying.
He's laughing too.
No. Look, listen, and I hear what you're saying there, Six. And I hear you. And I hear what you're saying about depth. But if you pay George Fant, which you just paid him, it was 3 years, $30 million, that does not sound like a depth signing to me. That sounds like this guy's going to be a starter. He's getting starter money.
Yes.
Okay? Starter money. Now, mind you, there were other guys that didn't make, weren't so far away from that $9 million. So why give him that, when you could have gave other guys that were better than him that kind of deal and got progressively better in that position? That's my big question.
Think I know.
But why are you giving him that type of money? Because he's a depth guy at all. If you give him that type of cash, he's a starter.
No, you're right. That dude should be a starter. And if they get their projected starter in the draft, he's either going to play left tackle or he's going to play right tackle. He's going to play one side or the other. That's what they're thinking. If he's got to be a backup, they'll just cut him. But he is either going to be on one side or the other. And the Jets are still going to draft the tackle in the first round. And then they'll go wide out after that. But why this guy's getting starter money? Excellent question. And I think the only logical answer is he could play either side, left or right. And if one side or the other doesn't work out, then he's for depth. And that's it. That's the only thing he can make sense of. Because there's been no other big, splashy signings. So Joe Douglas is clearly looking in on the O-line, no matter what he has to do. And you know what? Fant doesn't have the big name and all that, but he's not that bad. But at the same time, they're still going to look to put somebody in front of him if they can, via the draft. That's what I think.
So, Chris, are you surprised that Jenkins and Poole only got 1-year deals and maybe not like a 2 or 3 year deal?
Not so much Poole, but Jenkins, yes, because Jenkins has been drafted. He's been, he's loyal, bleed green, New York Jets, and I thought he would get a bigger deal. So that to me was a little disappointing, and especially after seeing he could go to the Giants. So that was I thought Jenkins deserved a little bit more than that, but I think that they might know something, and they lost out on Clowney somehow. So they said, let's re-sign Jenkins and give him a 1-year prove-it deal, and see what he can do. And you know what? I think that's just, it seems like a trend to me. It seems like this is the way Joe Douglas is going. Joe Douglas is saying, hey, I like you. Let's see what you can do. If you can prove it to me, you're going to get your money. If you can't, you're gonna walk. And that's it. And this is the kick in the ass the Jets need. They haven't had this in a long time, and they need this. It's about time. That's what I'm saying. It's about time that we got somebody in here.
Well, first of all, thank you for calling in, man, and thank you for listening. We definitely appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys, man. Thank you.
Have a good night. Now, see, Joe, we handled that like adults. We had no problems. We handled this professionally.
First off, I want to, thank Chris for calling in. I go back and forth with him on Twitter as well. I hear his takes, and, I agree with some of them. Like I said, I talked about, moving on for Robbie and not paying him if he wanted anything north of $10 million. But there's just other signings and other things that, still kind of leave a bit to be desired for me in my mind. So we'll see what Joe Douglas does going forward. Like I said, it really puts a lot of stress in this draft. He's got to hit on a lot of players. And I know a lot of people just automatically think, hey, you can get a guy in the third round that's going to step in and be a number one wide receiver. And I'm like, there's some guys that definitely, outside of those first guys that are going to go, that, could step in and give us some type of production, but they also need work too. And again, like you said as well, for a young guy to immediately step in and just have all that weight on his back, and you think he's going to give you, Pro Bowl numbers off the bat, that's a lot to expect of a young wide receiver first year in the NFL.
Oh, no, that's my point, because, he just said it himself. This is why we went back and forth. He's like, well, we have to go offensive line first round. I agree. Go offensive line at 11. Then he's like, second round, we can go pass rusher. Okay, so now we're going to find our great wide receivers in the third round. We're going to get these great receivers. And listen, it could be a deep class. And my only point, this is the only point, it's not being negative, it's called the history of the draft. Nothing is given. They could be the best wide receiver class of all time. There is no guarantees we're getting 2 great receivers or even one. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And everybody keeps telling me, we're just Joe. If I get $1 for every time somebody tells me we're just going to draft that, Joe Douglas has the master key to the draft that we've been missing for the last 10 years. He has the key. Whatever he does turns into gold, and we're gonna have an all-star cast in 2 years, and which would be lovely. Yeah. We've earned that right. It's not going to happen, but it'd be nice. And that's all kind of it's just he is doubling down on the draft. And he's also doubling down on free agency next year because all these 1-year contracts. We're going to be saying about next year. Yeah. You're going to need look at you got Brian Poole and Desir, both 1-year contracts. Okay, Millette, 1-year contract. They're all going to be gone next year. So you need corners again. Yeah. Your outside linebackers, your middle linebackers, in the same boat there. You're going to have if everybody's going to tell me this rebuilding plan, right now we're getting Band-Aids, a lot of Band-Aids until next year, until we go through this again. Unless he drafts excellent, and then it's we don't have draft picks like the Miami Dolphins. We're not loaded with draft picks.
Yeah, we're not. And I also another thing that I don't think people really understand either. And after the last show, people are saying, okay, we'll just get our left tackle in the first round. We're at pick 11. There are teams that are ahead of us. Those tackles could be gone. The top 4 tackles could be gone by the time it's up for us to pick. We could also get jumped as well, because there are a couple teams below us that could be looking for left tackle or tackle help as well. So that tackle could be gone by the time we even pick, and then what? Now we're strolling into this season with no left tackle, no answer in sight for that, unless Fant is going to play it. that's scary. And I said that, when you don't find those guys that could be out there to really improve this line, you rolling that dice. Like you said, he's doubling down. I'm hoping that Joe Douglas, like I said, gets this right, because I like the guy. I think he could be a solid general manager here, but we'll see what he does, man.
Yeah, and to me, it's like, listen, he could be the great guy. We've given a lot of credit for a lot of things. There's some question marks. And it's like, listen, he's got to earn it. Like, he's never drafted for the Jets before. This is his first offseason, so I'm not going into it blindly saying, you know what, I've had the Kool-Aid, this guy's a genius, perfect. And what we do is we get into the pattern of justifying every move and not really looking more into it and not looking at the risk associated with it and the potential going forward as a building block or a whole next year. So 929-477-2651, I'm challenging everybody that's been attacking me on Twitter today to call in, because I am more than ready for this. I've had years of Jets to talk about this, and it doesn't bother me. I'm ready for it, Joe. Like, I don't care. Seriously, unfollow, I don't care. Threaten me, call me names. I'm used to it. I've been called much worse elsewhere. It doesn't faze me at all. Not even a little bit.
Hey, well, hey, look, anybody wants to unfollow, at TRouse21, if you want to unfollow him, that's your business. But you can always follow me at YoungJ00030. Go ahead and follow me. Hey, all opinions and takes are welcomed over here. We can definitely go back and forth, as long as it remains respectful. I love fellow Jets fans, and I'm right.
Oh, there's nothing respectful, dude. They get down right now. They're just name calling. You call yourself a radio host? I'm like, actually, I don't. I call myself a fan. I can give a rat's ass. Like, I don't care. We're talking football. Like, I'm not an expert.
Well, you do.
I read the same articles they read.
Yeah, but you do stoke that fire. You do definitely name call as well. You definitely attack people and go after them, a bit. You do it on the show here. So there's no wonder that they like to
I don't know what you're talking about.
Of course you don't. Mm-hmm.
But I will say this. I will say the one thing is I was definitely wrong about the market for Jordan Jenkins. I will definitely say that, because I thought he'd get a lot more than $5 million. I definitely thought he would. I'm shocked. I'm not sure if he's just betting on himself. I'm just truly surprised, because there was rumors that he was looking for $13 million a year from the Giants. So yeah. I'm not really sure what happened. What I get weary about is when players, they turn down more money to stay here. I'm not sure if that's necessarily true all the time, or that's just trying to buy good graces with the fans. But even, I thought he'd make more. I'm glad he's back. I think he's gotten better every year. And Jordan, one thing that always sticks with me is when he came on here and he told us, listen, when I came out of college, I didn't know a lot about pass rushing. Like, I had to learn a lot. And he's learning more every year. And now under Greg Williams, he's learning even more. So as a pass rusher, his numbers improve every year. He got better, and he missed 2 games last year. I'm glad he's back. He's one of my favorite players. But I'm just surprised he only got a 1-year deal and that little, man. I thought he'd get more. I really did.
Yeah, I thought his market would be a lot bigger as well. I know there were a couple of teams that were interested, and I think the Giants at one point, him and the Giants were really hot and heavy and talking about different stuff. Yep. So I don't think he necessarily turned down money to come back here. I just think that Giants thing kind of maybe fell apart, because I remember hearing a lot of reports that the numbers, were kind of off between them. They were trying to figure things out, and I think the market kind of dried up for him, and maybe that's what kind of led him to coming back here. But listen, I welcome him with open arms, because he was a guy that really did some solid things for us last year, and we were hoping that we'd be able to bring him back. It is a 1-year deal, so he's going to be back out on that market again, trying to prove to people, hey, I'm the guy that you need to pay. But, at least we get him for another year and try to figure out a way to kind of fill that void, if he does move on next year in free agency.
Yeah, so we're going to say the phone lines are completely out of control. I'm sure I know why, but we're going to keep it going. So we're going to go to Nasir in New Jersey. What's up, man?
Yeah, hello? Yeah, so
let's
talk about this. So if you're looking at the division, I would say that even with the Patriots losing Tom Brady, that the Jets have had the worst offseason in our division. And for a team that is supposed to get better, we're not getting any better. I like the Pierre signing, but we tried to get him last time he was a free agent, and he didn't want to come to us. So now, I just feel like he's desperate. Like, is he really that good? Is he really going to be a solid for us? We don't know yet. Losing Robbie wasn't a big deal for me. I think we should have signed him. So I think there's work left to do. I'm not really into this Joe Douglas regime. I think we still need to cut Brian Winters. I still think we need to cut Avery Williamson just to get that cap space money, just to see if we can go sign somebody. I don't care if we're going to get Jadeveon Clowney or any other reported big names, but I think we need to do better because this offseason has been poor.
Listen, I can understand that. Like, if you look at the offensive line, they did do some, like, bargain shopping. They went for, like, trying to get, like, most bang for their buck, which is interesting. I like the center. I mean, I like Poole coming back. I like Jenkins. But I can see it. Like, I'm not really a Clowney fan. Like, I don't think for the money he wants, I'm not really a fan. Would you go? Would you go for like an Evan Griffin or a Marcus Golden?
Right. Marcus Golden definitely had a good year for the Giants last year. I wouldn't mind, but my thing is, what is Joe Douglas really waiting for? I mean, it was kind of clear that Robbie wasn't going to resign, so why didn't we jump the gun with Rashad Perryman? Like, maybe we could have signed him for like 1 year, $6 million or something. Maybe $22 million, we gave him $8 million instead. He knows that, all right, well, if they lose Robbie Anderson, they're going to come after me, so I'm going to, raise the price a little higher. So, I feel like Joe Douglas, it's okay that he's taking his time, but he needs to get on the ball and sign the talent. Like, who do we have around him next year? We have Perryman and Ryan Griffin. Like, I don't, Jameson Crowder had a good year, but we need somebody else on the outside.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for calling in, and I hear you. That's one of my biggest concerns as well. Like you said as well, I wasn't necessarily heartbroken when Robbie moved on, went to the Panthers, and we lost in free agency because I thought that, hey, we can get a guy in later rounds that can kind of do exactly what he does. But, man, I'm telling you, when you look at the other situation, for me, it's on the offensive line. I'm looking at the situation going, whoa, man, we still need some help there at tackle. I mean, are you a believer in Fant? Do you think that Joe Douglas has done enough to this offensive line? Or do you think that with the draft coming, that we're going to continue to, pound capital into the offensive line as well?
Well, like, I'm pretty sure I guess Fant was like a tight end, lineman, tight end, so I don't know if Gase...
they would bring him in as like the sixth lineman.
Right. So I don't know if Gase wants to, do that, but I don't know. I was reading a report today because, I think I was in on the Trent Williams trade, but I see like he wants another contract for 18 years, somewhere close to that. So I'm really not into that anymore, but I think we need to go wide receiver with the 11th pick. Like, I don't think we should go offensive line. I mean, we had a chance to fix the offensive line. And we just couldn't get it done in free agency. I think we need to keep building on the Doga, just to see what he is. I think he's terrible, but I think we, should keep, find out who he is, and move on from there.
Here's my question. I hear you, because I told people I would love to have Jared Judy on this football team. I even had a plan, but I hear what you're saying, that you think, hey, we, did what we could in free agency to fix this line. Let's just go wide receiver. My problem is, how do you justify doing that when you see that if you struggle with your offensive line, we saw, our wide receivers be completely, useless because Sam didn't have enough time to throw. So how can you justify going wide receiver over left tackle with what you've seen this season?
Because I don't think we have that necessary. We don't have a difference maker. So it's like, okay, well, let's shop our O-line, and what was going to do? Throw it to Jameson Crowder out the slant, 5 million times? Like, we still need somebody else on the outside. I don't think Vincent Smith is a starter. I don't even think Rashad Perryman is a starter. So I still think we need playmaking weapons out there besides maybe Ryan Griffin, who we need to see if he can continue to build on what he was last year. And running Davion into the ground 500 times, which we know that Gase is not going to do anyway.
No, he's definitely not going to do that. He may be forced to throw the ball this year, so we'll see. Not sure. Thanks for calling in. I appreciate it.
Right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling in. Joe, the one interesting thing about Trent Williams, and that thing's really heating up because now the agent's involved, and the agent's saying, listen, we told you, to make a trade, and you're not accepting trade offers. And here's a situation where the Redskins are starting to lose leverage because now they know that he doesn't want to be there. Everybody knows he doesn't want to be there. So now it's like, at what point do they drop their asking value just to get rid of him? They say, you know what, we want a second-round pick. Nobody's biting because nobody wants to pay him that contract. Do we lower it to a third? Do we lower it to a fourth? Like, how low do they go, and can that happen right before the draft?
Yeah, first off, I want to thank Nasir for calling in. He's a great caller. I hope to hear from him next week on the show as well because he always brings great takes. But I think that price might start lowering if Trent Williams comes out and starts to talk about some things. Okay? If you read the little things that I believe his agent put out, he hasn't necessarily gone, too public and just talked about, bashed the franchise or nothing like that. He hasn't done that just yet. And if you read between the lines with some of those, of what was being written, it was like, hey, we could be doing more. Like, we could be saying more. We could be doing this, So also in that thing that the agent wrote as well, it's like we see that, players that cause problems get moved. He hasn't caused problems yet. That was a big, sticking point there. So if he starts to really cause problems and starts to really cause a ruckus, I could see them dropping that. I believe that his asking price is not that high. His camp has come out in the past, just recently as well, talking about, hey, he doesn't want $18-20 million a year. That stuff is not true. So if we can get him at the right price, if they could drop that to a third or even a fourth, if he continues to, make a ruckus there, I would love to see Joe Douglas moved on this. I've talked about it in the past. This is a guy that I was screaming about, hey, we need to move for this guy. Once that stuff started going down with those Redskins, like last season or whatever, I was screaming, hey, we need to move and get this guy. But I can see the Skins starting to lower that price unless they're just willing to just sit there and, just not care and let him just rot on that bench, which they could, just to be, just big meanies about it. But, man, I could see them moving to a team. It's just Joe Douglas has got to get in there and be the guy to make that deal, because there's going to be other teams in there as well that are definitely bargaining for his services.
Yeah, I think with Ron Rivera in there, he's not going to want to sit and have this distraction and all this nonsense. You want to get rid of him, get your compensation, and move on. So I think it's just a matter of time of when they say, you know what, it's just not worth it anymore. We got to get, they're trying to play the game. Like right now, everybody's trying to play the same game, the waiting game, get the best value, everything else. But at some point, you say, you know what, we just got to get out of this. We can't do this anymore. Now that's where Joe Douglas has to strike.
Yeah, but what I don't understand about this whole situation is not like he has said anything other than, I will never play for the Redskins again. Like, he said that ever since this stuff has started, and it has not changed. So what I don't understand about their side is, okay, why are you sitting here? Why is this taking so long? The guy has said this over and over, and it doesn't matter who asked him. It doesn't matter. He's even had meetings with the owner, with the general, everybody, even Ron Rivera himself. And he's come out of those meetings saying, I will never play with the Redskins again. I've told y'all this like 40 damn times. He said it 1,000 times. So for me, it's like they should have already, got rid of him, moved on, and made the deal. Because it is what it is. He's not going to be in that uniform ever again for what we're hearing from him, and his stance has not changed. So I'm just hoping that Joe Douglas, again, is in there, is in that process, and is able to get that deal done, because there are quite a bit of teams that are extremely interested in him, that are willing to pay him, and they don't have any problems.
We're going to go to Jesse in Vermont. Jesse, what's up, man?
Oh, not much. How about you guys?
Oh, dude, we're just talking some free agency, man. We got a lot of chaos tonight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I kind of added to the chaos on Twitter, guys. Sorry.
Okay, what take are you have now? What's your approach here? Do you like Robbie? Do you want somebody else, or?
Oh, I'm a huge Robbie Anderson fan. I know a lot of people have looked at me like, oh, I don't think he's that great. I'm like, dude. If you look at the numbers, he's the best receiver. He's one of the best receivers we had, at least on the team, the last few seasons. Like,
yep.
Being honest, he has over 3,000 career receiving yards. And I was looking at the guy that they signed to replace him, and I'm like, dude, he's been in the league longer than Robbie, and he don't even have close to the amount of receiving yards or catches as Robbie does.
Yeah, Perryman came on last year because he's all speed and using that wide open offense down there at Tampa, where they were just Jameis Winston just airing it out every freaking play. So now with Robbie, were you disappointed that they, he didn't really get a lot. He got 2 years, $20 million, $12 million this year, $8 million next year, which isn't a lot. Are you disappointed they didn't go that high, or do you think they should have did something else?
I definitely think they could. I definitely think that's not too crazy to offer him that, and I thought that, in which you got to take everything you see online with a grain of salt, what you're seeing, saying, oh, Jets' range was between 9 and 11 million, and I'm like, well, dude, what's stopping you from going to that 12 million? But like I said, you got to take what you see online.
It seems like, to me, to be honest with you, it seems like they offered him like $9 or $10 million, over 2 years, and Carolina said, we'll give you $12 million this year, and that was a deciding factor. Like, Carolina just made a little extra step to keep him, and the Jets weren't as aggressive. It just seems kind of like that's the way it was. They're probably both in the same ballpark, but it comes down to money, and that's what it always does. And I don't blame Robbie for taking it. But now, if you look at wide receiver, you have Perriman, you have Crowder, Quincy, who knows, Berrios, and Vincent Smith. Do you look to the draft for a wide receiver? And if so, what round do you want one?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't want to just wait until the draft because one thing I've been listening to you guys talk for probably the last 20 minutes. One interesting point you brought up was that you can't bank on the draft. Look at the Jets' history. Just the Jets' history alone, we have not hit on our picks. We have not hit on our picks. If that was the case, we'd have more than one Super Bowl. If we actually hit on our picks, dude, we'd have more than one receiver. Yeah, hell, the friend of mine brought this up to me. The last time we drafted a wide receiver in the first round was Santana Moss, and we all know where he went.
To Washington.
The Jets have such a bad history with paying their players that they if you look back over the last 20 years, look at all the stars that we let walk out our doors, and then go flourish in somebody else's system. I'm just dude, haven't the Jets learned from their past mistakes? We can't let these guys go. I get it. A lot of people are not as high on Anderson, but we're already dealing with a situation where another player, a star player of ours, wants money. Well, I can't really say Anderson was a star yet.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you for calling in. I hear what you're saying. To me, I get it. You like Robbie. I thought he was a decent guy here, but when you're asking, to pay him upwards of 12, I believe at one point he was asking anywhere from 13 to 14 million, maybe even 15. I'm out, so I understand why they moved on. I get it, Robbie, speedster, but he's a very one-dimensional wide receiver, has never had 1,000 yards here. Even this season, there were games where he was completely invisible. Did nothing. I think he only had 300-yard games this entire season. That was, that production, that just does not warrant enough for us to give you, as much as I think he was asking for. So I get why they moved on from him because, again, you can find a guy like him in the draft and you can move forward. But for me, I have a question about this defense. When you look at this cornerback spot, there's some holes there. What are your thoughts about the Jets bringing in Desir?
I thought that was looking in from what some of the beat writers were saying as well. And I was able to kind of form my own opinion on it. I think what I could gather was that he had some kind of an injury-riddled season last year, but what brought their attention to him was that he had a really good 2018 season, which I saw some of the highlights from that. He looks promising, but also I'm also kind of sick of the Jets just going off of, this guy shows promise. That's it. We don't know he's actually going to be good. But the thing is, when you've sucked for so long, you can't get those grade A free agents like we wanted. A lot of us were begging for Emmanuel Sanders. I know that's the offensive side of the ball, but some of us were begging for Chris Harris Jr. It's just you can't get those guys because we're so bad.
But the only thing is that Greg Williams, I think a lot of us have faith in him where if he finds a player that he really likes and he believes he can get more out of him than what we've seen, you kind of can have some faith in him based on his track record.
Yeah, Greg seems to be one of the very few things that are going right for this franchise right now.
He's our best coordinator.
Yeah, well, I would prefer him to be the head coach too, but that's a different another day. That's a whole different conversation, guys.
Well, thanks for calling in, man. We appreciate it.
Hey, you guys have a wonderful night.
You too. Joe, that's the one thing. We got a lot of people on hold, but the one thing is you read a lot of these articles, and it's Brian Poole mentioned it, Jordan Jenkins mentioned it, Pierre Desir mentioned it, all about Greg Williams. Like, he made the phone call, he talked to him, he made him feel comfortable, and that's why a lot of these guys are coming here, which is super cool. But then it's like, on offense, you really don't hear a lot about Adam Gase. It's more about Sam Darnold.
Yeah, well, first off, I want to thank the last caller for calling in. We all know why that is. And I've said it. I think Greg Williams is the best coach on this staff, hands down. It's great to have a guy that can recruit guys like that and bring them in here. Defensive players want to come play for him. And not just that, the way he can use guys in a multitude of ways. He doesn't complain. His system is his system, but he also can use his system and kind of, fit it around whatever guys' skill sets are. We saw him do that, just this season. There were guys that were coming in his corner. He was moving these guys around. He was doing certain things, helping guys out certain ways, not leaving them out on an island by themselves. He was doing exactly what we said that Adam Gase should be doing. On the defensive side, you want to talk about being injured. He played, damn near the entire season without his starting inside linebackers. Both of them were pretty much gone. I mean, Mosley only played, 1 or 2 games, I think, this year. And I think one of those games he was completely hobbled and shouldn't even been playing in. So this guy didn't complain. He just went out there and, made sure the guys played hard. As a matter of fact, we had guys show up this year defensively that we didn't think we would get anything out of because of Greg Williams. Guys like Shepard, so on and so forth. Kyle Phillips was able to step in, play extremely well too. So, Greg is who he is, man, and I'm so happy to have him here.
We're going to go to Kenny in New Jersey. Kenny, what's up, man?
How's it going, guys? I just want to keep
man.
echoing. Sorry, man. I just want to keep echoing this whole. It ain't going well for us in free agency thing. It's just not. We want to look at it, pretend like it's real going, like something good is happening. We can't be happy as Jets fans with the way things are going. And everyone's looking at the draft saying like that's how everything's gonna get fixed. We're gonna fix everything to the draft. Or Douglas is a genius. Have you seen the last 3 Eagles drafts? Like, they're not good drafts. The Eagles are in a bad spot right now because they haven't been able to draft for 3 years. Like, yes, I believe in Joe Douglas to an extent, but I'm not going to give him a pass and, paint everything to look all pretty. We did that with McCagnon for 3 years, and look where it got us. It got us the worst roster in the league. So, I'm being a little bit more skeptical on Joe Douglas. I mean, people are like, oh, we can grab a wide receiver wherever we want. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is considered a value when the Eagles took him last year. He was nothing. I mean, 19 catches last season. That is abysmal. That is bad. That is not what we want to be doing when we have Sam Darnold going into year 3, and soon we're going to have to pay him. If we think he's the guy, we don't even know if Joe Douglas thinks that. And then, maybe we'll pay Jamal Adams, even though right now with the roster we have, why would you pay a safety? So
exactly.
I think
Kenny, I completely agree with you, man. That's the whole thing. Like, we all want to believe in Joe Douglas, but he doesn't have a track record on his own record with the New York Jets. Like, he's done nothing. He's made some signings last year, but this is his first draft on his own with his scouts, his vision, his blueprint. So, listen, we all want to be positive. We all want to be, we want to get all these players, but we got to be realistic, and that's just the way the draft is. And people keep telling me the same thing they tell you. It's like, listen, we're just going to draft 2 wide receivers, no problem. We've been trying to do this for 6 years. Like, we can't do it. It is a problem. Just like pass rushers. Everybody told me how good Ja'Kai Polite was last year. How'd that work out for us? Like, dude, there's no givens in the draft, ever.
No, and then, people want to say, I want to see Avery Williamson and T.J. Mosley. Yeah, that sounds exciting, but how good are we at run defense? How much better are we going to be at run defense this year if you put in Avery Williamson? Right now, he's an asset that could become a draft pick, and that's how I think Joe Douglas should be thinking about him. Because, we're not going to get that much better at run defense. Like, where can we really improve in that area? No, we need to create assets. We need to be able to get players. Because right now, our quarterback depth still not good. Our outside linebackers, our edge presence, basically non-existent. We need somebody. We need a pillar player at a position of value. And if that involves paying, Jadeveon Clowney, or if that involves going out and getting a true pass rusher, that's what we need. We need a player that can actually change a game. And we're missing it. Yeah. We have nobody to pay. We have $80,000 in cap space and $80 million in cap space next year. And we're sitting on $40 million right now. Why are we saving that money? Who are we even going to pay with that money?
Yeah, what I'm thinking is maybe Joe Douglas is going to try to go into next season, and maybe he'll hop into the free agency pool there. But, you know, if we're just going off of this season and spending habits, maybe that's just not something he's ever going to be interested in. But I want to stick with the defense this year and what you were talking about, because like you said, there's no real edge presence. And there's some guys that he's brought back, though, that I think is going to kind of help our secondary. And Poole is one of those guys. Do you think it was a smart idea to give him a one-year deal to come back?
I don't know why we're going cheap on Poole when we're not paying anybody else. I mean, maybe they're kind of hoping that they're trying to get Poole to prove that it's not just a one-year deal, that his performance was just, was not an aberration to what he normally is. But still, who are we paying that we can't pay our best cornerback? Who are we paying that we can't bring in, somebody better than Pierre Desir, who has one good year on his resume? Like, who are we paying that we can't give money to Poole? Keep him here long term. Give us a piece who's going to stay here for 2-3 years, who's actually going to help us win games. I would have paid him more. I would have paid him for longer. But Poole's a good piece. You can't complain about bringing back Poole. And you can't complain about bringing back Jordan Jenkins for $5 million. I don't think Jenkins is the player. I don't think he moves the needle. But he's a good depth guy. He's a good presence on our team. $5 million is a good, you can't bust on Joe Douglas for those signings. So those are good signings. Those are really good moves. It's just next year we're going to have to sign a bunch of quarterbacks again, that's not really what we want if we're building a good roster.
Well, that's the whole thing. If you look at it now, and it's like all these guys we just talked about. You got Poole, Desir, Jordan Jenkins, James Burgess. All these guys are all one-year deals. Arthur Millette, Perryman. It's like we're going to be in the same boat next year to all these guys. So all these holes that we're supposedly fixing now are going to be holes next year as well.
Yeah, and next year, I looked at the salary cap. $80 million, almost $90 million, just chilling. And Henry Anderson is one of the highest paid players on the team next year. He's not going to be around. So we're looking at almost $100 million, again, with nobody to pay except for maybe Jamal Adams. And, that's disturbing. You can't build a roster like that. We're going to end up, being in the cellar for Darnold the next 2 years, and then we're trying to re-up him, and we don't really know if he's more than a Jag or not. It sucks. It's a bad spot. It's not a good place to be if you're a Jets fan who wants to invest in the team.
No, listen, I completely agree. Your whole goal is to have a young nucleus, a young core, all these building blocks going forward. And all the guys we signed in free agency, where's our building block? Maybe McGovern. I mean, we don't. It's just it's interesting, man. It's interesting. I don't. We'll see what happens. But thanks for calling in. We appreciate it.
Yeah, man, no problem.
Yeah, Joe, that's the one thing. And listen, again, we're not trying to be negative because I'm getting blasted on Twitter. It's not about being negative, but it's about what were our goals entering free agency and what. But seriously, we had all these visions for free agency, and our common denominator was we said we want building blocks for the future. We want anchors for the future. We want to build around Sam Darnold. And if you're giving me one-year Band-Aids and all these low-risk, high-reward guys, taking a flyer on this guy, taking a flyer on that guy, that's not necessarily building blocks. Obviously, your draft should be building blocks, but if you're going to spend money in free agency, it shouldn't be, okay, see you here, gone next year. You kind of want to get, some continuity.
Yeah, and I'm going to thank the last caller for calling in. He had some great takes, but I'll agree with you there. At least you want to see these guys at least get 2-year deals, maybe with a 3rd-year option if possible. Like you said, you want to get some building blocks. You want to get some guys that are going to be able to kind of stick around for some time, but, it's not the way it worked out with some of these guys. Like I said, I understand, Joe Douglas wants to penny pinch here and there, but, we could have spent and really got some guys that could have really been difference makers, but we'll see how he handles the situation going forward.
Yeah, like I said, and I like moves. I like Brian Poole coming back. I wish he got a 2-year deal. I'm a big fan of George Jenkins. Pierre Desir makes sense. Some of the moves make sense, but if we're looking at the big picture, which everybody keeps telling me, gotta look at the big picture, Tyson. The big picture is so important because this is part of our plan, this whole big plan. And all my plan seems that this time next year, Joe, we're gonna have the same freaking conversation. We need two. We're gonna need three. We're gonna need 3 corners. We're gonna need 2 linebackers. We're gonna need 2 receivers. We're gonna be in the same boat next year, same exact boat, and probably 2 linemen too.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even talked about addressing pass rusher yet, so, I mean, there's a lot he's got to fix, but at the same time, coming into the situation, Hey, look. I just try to, but there was a lot, that he needed to fix as well at the same time because McCagnon really, he put this team into a world of hurt, with some of the nonsense that he was doing his tenure here. So I'm just hoping that Joe Douglas, kind of picks it up, especially going forward.
All right, we're going to stay at the very busy phones. We're going to go to Logan in New Jersey. Yo, Logan. What's up, man?
I got a question. I want to know what you guys think of the moves that have been made so far. Because all I'm hearing is negativity. I want to hear what you guys have to say.
Well, we're not. We're pretty much there's good and there's the unknown. Like we like the center. Obviously everybody likes Brian Poole coming back. Everybody likes Jordan Jacobs coming back. Burgess, Millette, Pierre Desir, we're high on. The offensive line is kind of an unknown, man. Like me personally, I'll go to jail. Like we don't know what we have. Like if people like some people don't. Large, Greg Van Houten, people like, people don't. Like we don't know how they're going to get together as a unit, how they're going to play. But to me, it's like we wanted that big stout left tackle. Is that Fant? I'm not sure. So it's we still have a pass rusher that we're looking for. Perryman is kind of like, is he the 5 games he played in Tampa that were good, or how bad he was in Baltimore? There's some unknowns, man.
So you're saying if there's not a big splash that they didn't do anything, right?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying if we look at we went more on the second tier market and try to make our splash that way, which is fine. If that's the approach he wants to take, it's great. And then it remains to be seen. Like we don't know what we have. Like a lot of the guys that we talk about, were on none of our radars going into this. We were talking about Conklin and Philly and Glasgow and bringing back Robbie, and none of that happened. So now it's like now we have these other guys, which is fine. Hey, it may work, it may not. We have no idea. But I'm not going to blindly go say, hey, you know what? This is awesome. I honestly don't know.
Well, we won't know until the draft is over, right? Like, don't you think we won't know until the draft is over and, people get picked up at the end of training camp and the waiver wire? Like, don't you think that it takes a little time to say, hey, this is our roster? Like, our roster cannot be defined right now in March. That's impossible for any team. So for us to sit here and say, well, we didn't do good in free agency, we didn't get big name players, wah. So what? It's not over. And let me tell you something. We had the second best run defense in the NFL. What are we crying about? We're doing okay on defense.
We're crying about the worst offense in football.
Right.
That's what we're worried about. The worst offense in football.
Hold on a second. And that's right, because we needed O-line, which we've addressed thus far, and some wide receivers, which we will address. What are we crying about? We're going to be okay. And if we have freaking mono last year, tack 2 or 3 wins on, we're in the goddamn playoffs. What the fuck is everyone crying about?
Well, first off, yeah.
I had to cut him off, Joe. He's gone.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say
the F word's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta slow down. It's a family show. Well, I respect him for calling in. I want to thank him for calling in. But at the same time, I think people should stop using that as well. You tack on 2 to 3 wins. You don't know if we win those games or not. That's why we play the games on Sunday. If we would have went into that Dolphins game, there couldn't have been anybody you could have said to say, we're just going to lose to the Dolphins. No way. And we did. We
that 6-game winning streak is that way.
Yeah,
some people are disillusioned. It's just ridiculous.
Exactly. It's like that like you said, that 6-game winning streak, even really in the season, 6-2, something like that.
Yep.
Really ridiculous. Made people delusional about how this team really looked and was built. And I keep saying that about this season. People really thought, or really think still at this point, there are some fans that really think this last season team was a playoff team. You guys are delusional. that is not what we were at all. And I don't understand how you don't see that, or how some people don't. We have the worst offense in the league. How could you possibly see that? But, teachers own.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not negativity. It's just trying to be objective about this draft and how the rebuilding plan he's using is very obvious. Listen, if you look at the blueprint for the offensive linemen, they're versatile, they're athletic, they're easy to get out of their contracts, they're hardworking, they're high-character guys. So now you know what Joe Douglas wants in offensive linemen. Great. Is it going to work? I have no idea. But they have a lot of things they need to do to gel. Plus, there's going to be no OTAs due to the virus. Now you have less practice time. There's going to be a lot of challenges for this offensive line. Can they all stay healthy and everything else? But the thing is, like, the whole thing is we want this left tackle. So, yeah, it could happen in the draft, and that changes a lot of things. But, Joe, for me, it's just like... No, it's not. I was just going to say that. Go ahead,
dude. That pisses me off. It's like that's where I wanted to talk with the caller about this because he said before he dropped that bomb and had to get out of here. But he was like, "Hey, we've added some names. We upgraded our offensive line." That's not true. That's not true across the board. McGovern, yes, he's a bit of an upgrade over what we had, but the rest of these guys are like they're journeyman guys. And Fant himself is like he's not that good. And everyone's going, well, we'll just draft a left tackle. Again, and I'll keep saying this, if you look at the teams that are ahead of us, those 4 tackles that we're talking about constantly on this show, and we're going to be talking about them in draft time, there's a chance that they may not be there when it's time for us to draft. And then what? What will you do then? What are you going to do? We not only that, but we can get jumped too. There's teams that have already been talking about jumping us and taking tackles. And and again, we'll start covering that more and more once the draft comes. There are teams that have capital that could jump us and take a tackle as well. So it's like we got to start thinking about this. There's a chance that there's not going to be any of those tackles there. And then what do? Because, again, you'll go into this season with a gigantic hole in your offensive line yet again. So there's questions to be asked. I'll keep saying I love Joe Douglas. It's not over, but we're analyzing the roster as of now. And again, going into free agency, everybody that called in was raving about all these offensive linemen, and we didn't get any of those guys. And people are just like, oh, everything's okay. It's all right. And it's like, well, what about the issues that we had along the offensive line? What about Sam? What about all these things that we talked about? So there's questions to be asked.
Yeah, and we're here to answer them, and we're here to get ripped for them, obviously, because obviously now it's so funny, dude. You know what's so funny is now we're just the same old negative fans, and the thing is, the best thing I love, this is what I love, you got to stop living in the past. Okay, which past should I ignore? Should I ignore last year? Should I ignore the last 5 years, the last 10 years? Which past should I ignore? Because that's the only thing I know. Like, I only know what the draft told me, what the team history told me, what Adam Gase has showed me. What are we supposed to do here? And it's like, whoa, look at the defense. We did some things. Well, what did we do? We brought back 3 guys or 4 guys that were already here. This year's new, but we're bringing back guys. Okay, we're keeping what we have. Fine. We got rid of some guys, but most of the guys we signed were coming back. The offense has changed a little bit, but Atlas is return. McGovern's an upgrade. Those 2 are kind of like, all right, we're not really sure. We got some depth signings. The receiver's new, and Perryman is an interesting guy. But Eric's talking about his speed. He's no doubt very fast. He does a lot of good things. He's a little unknown too. The ball place. He's very good. Will he flourish in Adam Gase's offense? I have no idea. I can't blindly go do this because people do this. Somebody tell me that it's automatically created Bobby Anderson based on what? What is he an upgrade over? How do we know this?
I'm right there with you. Yeah, look, I'm right there with you. I'm looking at the situation, and I'm saying,
shaking his head. I know you are. You did not expect this.
Yeah, look. Well, look. I like I said, I understand some of your concerns. I do like some of the signings, even though the 1-year signings for me are kind of worrisome because, again, I know people are like, well, they're prove-it deals. Well, here's the deal. If they do prove it, they're not just proving it to you, they're proving it to the rest of the league as well. And then you're going to have to work to re-sign those guys. So once you have to pay those guys, guess what? There are other teams in the league that are going to be like, hey, you played pretty well last year. We're going to be in to bid for your services too. So you could drive up their market again, next year and really be having to pay these guys real big money. There's a possibility or more money than you would be willing to pay. So there's some, some risk there as well. So I'm just hoping, again, going forward, I trust Joe Douglas. I want to see, his plan continuing forward, but I have some questions at some spots,
Yeah, I guess we're having some breaking up of our lines. But we apologize. There's not a lot we can do. This is Blog Talk. It's not us having a live radio show, a call-in show. There's not really many options for us. So it's not really. It's just we're limited in what we could do, so we apologize, and we will do our best. I know Primetime is sitting there messaging me, and I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do. So we're going to go to, we got a lot of people on hold, man. Holy cow. We're going to go to Mr. Spotty Blackman. What's up, Kevin?
All right. I'm going to begin this call by taking 2 deep breaths. Just because I have the utmost respect for what it is that you guys do on this show, and I don't want to be the one to break up, what's been a successful podcast so far this evening. But I am pissed off. So, that's 1. That's 2. If I hear another fan tell me right now that losing Robbie Anderson doesn't mean anything because the guy couldn't play, I'm going to explode. I'm going to stop. You know what? I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to stop right there because I would like to have an informed discussion with you guys. I got to have a lot of respect for what it is that you do, but today, of all days, I'm not the one. I'm not
Kevin,
the one.
Kevin, hold on, Kevin. I'm going to calm you down, Kevin. You know why? Because all we're going to do is we're just going to draft 2, man. Just draft 2 receivers, and away we go. No big deal, bro.
You know what? All right. Tyson, man, you about to press a button, boy. You about to press a button, man. Look. You know what I'm saying? I'm just sitting back. I'll say this again. I'll say this again. And okay. Joe, maybe Joe's remember this. And Joe, I'm welcome. I'm glad that you're back. The last time I called in, I don't think you were on the show. So thank you for being here tonight. But I'm just going to say this because I think I actually said this to you maybe 4 years ago. Real talk. And I mean, I'm just going back. But we don't draft veterans. We don't draft players that have demonstrated production in this league on this level, playing against the competition that we play against. We don't do it. So if anybody's talking about, we're just going to draft a replacement for a guy who literally broke his ass, blood, sweat, and tears with us for years, and you think, we're just going to bring a guy in, he's going to be great, sure. You have no idea what it is that you're talking about. And anyone that says that in particular has immediately lost at least a few points off of if I'm paying any attention to what it is that they're saying going forward. Because that's not how it works. It's just not. Do I expect that we're going to draft receivers? Yes. Do I expect those receivers to come in and play at that level? No. I don't expect any draft pick to come in and play at a level like that. I just don't. If they do, great. If they don't, it is what is expected. We don't draft veterans. We draft kids who are unproven, who have talent, who we think might actually be able to perform on that level, but they haven't done it. So until they do, okay. Now this also. When are we going to draft them? Because we're not drafting them first round. We're not. We might not even draft them second round. When are we drafting? We're going to bring in guys in third and fourth round that are going to be 1,000-yard receivers. Is that the expectation? Woo.
Hey Kevin, Kevin, can I tell you, Kevin? Kevin, this is a very deep wide receiver class. I didn't tell you that. Joe Douglas is a scouting and drafting guru. Third round is no big deal, bro. And they're going to contribute this year. Big numbers. Book it. And Adam Gase is all of a sudden going to become Bill Belichick.
Sure. All right, well, Kev, I want to thank you for calling in, man. I know you're perturbed. I hear it in your voice. I hear the anger. I know you're upset. I know Robbie's your guy.
He's been this bad for a long time. He's really mad tonight.
Yeah,
it's been a long time.
Yeah, look, I hear you, and I'm going to say the same thing, that I've said, even, in the past shows. Do you want to bring Robbie back? Yeah, but if they were looking at his deal and said, listen, and Tyson said it earlier, maybe, 2 years, $12 million, and the Panthers said, hey, we'll give you, or 2 years, $10 million, and the Panthers said, okay, listen, we'll give you, $12 million for this season, and he took that. It kind of is what it is. I didn't want to necessarily break the bank for Robbie. I didn't want to pay that, 13, 14, 15 million. That was reportedly what he was asking for. So I can kind of see why the Jets would move on, because you can still get a guy that does what he does, But for me, my biggest question is, and you brought it up, is the offensive line. Because you said, hey, we're going to take a lineman in the first round, right? That's what you just said. And for me, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, well, there's like 3 or 4 teams, actually more than 4 teams ahead of us that can end up taking one of those left tackles that we covet so much. And then what happens? So that's what I'm asking you. If there is no left tackle there for us to take in the first round, what do we do then in your mind?
Trade back.
And where you traded back?
This is the one thing that I know. Part of the reason why we are in the situation that we are in is because we have an extremely limited talent base, first, second, third level, across the board. And, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I have been a proponent of Joe Douglas and what it is that he's done in this free agency, because what it is that he has done hasn't been spectacular, but what it has done, it has strengthened a foundation. He hasn't made any splash plays. I think I said this, and Tyson, maybe you can kind of remember this in particular. I personally said that we weren't going to be signing big splash names. We weren't going to have these huge signings where people are going to be saying, oh, yeah, that guy is great. You know, we're not going to have that, and we shouldn't have that. To be honest with you, Joe Douglas has 6 years right now. Joe Douglas has quite a bit of time to be able to put his stamp on this team. The problem that I have is that Joe Douglas now, in this moment, has done some things to maybe lock down some spots, but and again, I'm going to have to try to calm down just a little bit here, because what it is that I think that he's done in this move in particular is he has taken from Sam something that is irreplaceable. And people say, oh, yeah, but Sam knows Robbie. Sam's comfortable with Robbie. Robbie's been here. Robbie's bled with us. He sweated with us. He's broken his behind with Sam, without Sam, unfortunately, in quite a few situations, and he's still, over the course of the time that he's been here, he's been our number one receiver. Boom. Enough said. He's gone. Unfortunately, if I hear somebody else say that he's trash, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to reach through my phone.
Yeah, but see, Kevin, the thing is this, I think the Jets wanted him back. They were trying to play hardball with money, and Carolina set their game up. They probably both offered $20 million, and Carolina said, you know what, we're giving you 10 this year, we'll get 12 this year to get the deal done. They beat Joe Douglas at his own game. It's the same amount of money. They just paid $2 more million this year.
If that is the case, then let that be the very first lesson to Joe Douglas about what not to do and how it is that you build culture within an organization. I'm going to say this, and I know. Look. I'll just be honest. I'm going to step out on a limb on this, and I may be the only one. If you want to holler at me, if you want to argue, whatever, at SPOTTYBLACKMAN. Holler at your boy on Twitter. Get at me on Facebook, Kevin Jackson. If that's what you want to do, come on. But this is what it is that we've done. We have created a situation now where, even despite some of the additions that we've made, we are going into this season in a worse position than where it is that we were. Yes, the additions to the offensive line were nice. They weren't enough. Yes, bringing in some of the DBs that we brought in was nice. Really important, really impactful. They don't score points. At this point, what it is that we've done is we've taken away Sam Darnold, who, excuse me, maybe you guys can remind me, or maybe you guys can refresh my memory and everybody else's memory, but he's the guy that we're supposed to be trying to build around. You took away literally only the one thing that has made it really possible for Sam to do a lot of what it is that he's done. And yeah, you can say what it is that you want about Jamison Crowder. I love Crowder. I'm glad he's here. He's a slot receiver. Period. Point blank, the end. Robbie Anderson was quite possibly the straw that stirred the drink when it comes to what could be available to Sam when we run this offense. I know it's big. I know it's large. I know it might seem far-fetched. But the fact of the matter is that we were talking a few years ago about having a quarterback who couldn't stretch the field because he didn't have the arm, and we had receivers that could. And we were talking about we need a new quarterback because the team that we had wasn't what it is that he needed. Now we have a guy who can stretch the field, and we take away the one thing The one player on this team that made it possible. Josh Doxson is not Robbie. Rashad Perryman, welcome aboard, my man. Welcome aboard, Rashad. I'm glad. Look. Everybody that comes to the team, I'm going to show love because I'm a Jets fan. Rashad Perryman is not Robbie Anderson, and I mean, if you want to say that the December that he had last year was comparable to what it is that you can expect or could have expected from what it is that we would get from Robbie, I'm going to tell you right now, you are sorely mistaken. This was a bad occurrence. Point blank, period, the end. And it's going to be bigger than what people think. If I hear one other person tell me that Emmanuel Sanders is 10 times better than Robbie, and the fact that he got whatever it is that he got means that we should only pay Robbie $5 million, I'm going to tell you right now, I have no faith. I have no belief. Everything that you say, type, tweet, post on Facebook, whatever, is going to get the immediate side eye. The guy is a scrub. He's been a scrub for 25 games. Look, no. I have been content. I've been content up until this point with the offseason. I've been content. This one thing, I'm telling you right now, and I said it on our show, excuse me guys, not to plug. I said it on Weapons Hot on Sunday. This is bad juju. You can call it what you want. You can say what it is that you want to say about it. It's bad juju. Not bringing back Robbie was not a good idea for this team. It does not engender to me something that says that this organization has turned the corner with how it is that we treat the players that come here and perform here. No, Robbie didn't have 1,000 yards. 933 yards in 2017. The argument could be made that he would have had 1,000 if McCown stays healthy. But the fact of the matter is that we've had the best receiver on this team go, and he went for not even something that would have stopped us from paying him. We could have paid him that money. We should have paid him that money, and the fact that we didn't. It tells me a little bit more about what it is that's going on going forward. And you know what? Almost like the inability of Joe Douglas to be able to figure out what it is that we were doing with kicker last season. It's a small thing. It is a small thing, but not necessarily, because that is important. It is important. And not bringing back Robbie is huge. It's a big deal. The offensive line, I like some of the guys. Connor McGovern, yeah, great signing. George Fenn, I don't know, upside. We've changed what it is, the dynamic of what it is that we look like we might want to do in this case, because we've got athletic guys that can move, guys that can get around. Adam Gase is still a scrub. Adam Gase is still our coach. Adam Gase is still going to be calling the plays. Adam Gase still has to manage the players that we have on this team. And if what it is that Adam Gase is saying is that I need to have guys that I like in order to be able to do my job, I'm going to tell you right now, Adam Gase is going to be out of here. We're going to be hiring a new head coach next season, and all of these things that we've done this offseason are going to be for nothing. Because again, and Joe made this point just a minute ago, but I just tweeted it out that the 1 year deals and all of that, those are really nice if you want to save cap space for going ahead. But the fact of the matter is that now we've got even more work to do next season to either bring these guys back or find replacements for them. This is not good.
Kevin. Thanks for calling, man. We appreciate it. Give out your information for your show.
All right. Again, Weapons Hot Podcast. My man CJ D. Simone's my man. But look, great sports fan, great content. We actually do quite a bit. We got some great spots, great guests, great discussion. If you want to come holler, that's Sunday at 7 at Spotty Blackman, SPOTTY BLACKMAN, CNANDC. Jets Factor, FACTOR. If you want to get at the show, get with us there. Guys, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to spew tonight. Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to spew tonight. But look, we've got a lot to work through right now. We've got a lot to work through. We've got some positive stuff, but this right here, this situation, this is difficult for me. Rashad Perriman is not the end. We've got some other stuff we need to work on. Holler at me. All right.
Have a good night. You know, it's funny, Joe. I was watching, as he was talking to us, he was tweeting, and then CJ is actually responding. His partner's responding. And now, as we're talking about how you can't assume anything in the draft, CJ is tweeting, dude, I don't know what you're so upset about. You get just draft 2 wide receivers. I'm like, oh my God, you're one of them. We've got another one. We're part of the problem, dude. You're part of the problem.
Well, look, first off, I want to thank...
Just draft them. No big deal. We're just going to draft them.
I want to thank Spotty for calling in. Look, I get it. People are upset. Robbie's walked away. To me, it kind of is what it is. I'm hoping Joe Douglas gets it right because he is putting so much emphasis on the draft. He's got a hit on a lot of these guys because if he doesn't, if you're not willing to pay just a little bit to get certain guys in here to kind of free up your options, to kind of move around a little bit more in the draft, kind of address other needs, if you're not willing to do that, it puts such an emphasis on your draft, puts so much weight on your draft. You have to get it right because if you don't, man, you're going to be in quite a hole because you just won't have talent there.
Hey. And you know what the scary thing is, and this could be my ultimate negative take of the day, and this is going to really piss people off, and I truly don't care, is if you look at the characteristics, no, this is just keeping it real, man, because I want to lose followers tonight. My goal is to lose followers. So if you look at the blueprint of Joe Douglas, so Adam Gase apparently wants the smaller, athletic, flexible, the linemen that are a little bit more athletic and versatile. If you fire Adam Gase next year and your next head coach wants a big, bulky, smaller offensive line, then what happens, Joe? Can you tell me what happens then?
Bad things happen. Let me tell you right now, bad things happen. Look, everyone knows how I feel about Gase, but if they're on this same page and that's what he feels he has to do, then that's what he's doing. Bad things happen.
We bring in 5 linemen that are more athletic and a little bit slimmer, and we fire him, and the next head coach wants maulers, all these big, burly guys that we don't have.
Man.
So we got to rebuild the line again. That would be. Oh, Jesus Christ!
It would be a mess. It would be a complete mess. But we'll see what happens. Maybe that's just a vote of confidence. Maybe they're thinking, regardless, that Gase is going to be here for the next however many years. In their minds, maybe that's what this is signaling. That hey, we're building a team and we're going forward with Gase. Maybe that's their thought process. That's what
we're going to do. We're going to go to our good friend Tyrone. What's up, man?
What's going on, fellas, man? First of all, man, my man Spotty went next level, didn't he, bro? Like, listen. Bro, I was sitting there like, whoa. Like, yo, listen, man. I love Spotty. That's my guy right there. But I had to change things up a little bit, man. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I'm not impressed with every single move that he's made. But, you know what I'm saying, I'm okay with some of the moves that he's made. At the end of the day, man, this is March, man. This is March. We haven't had the draft. It's another wave of free agency. What he's doing is building a core part of the roster. Yeah, every year we go out here and chase these wild free agents and spend most money, and we don't profit from that. We don't get better from that. So if he's building the core of the team up, I'm okay with that, man. I think everybody's going crazy.
This sounds like a Steve phone call. This sounds like a Steve phone call. What happened?
Y'all sitting there jumping off the deep end because it's. We're trying to build a roster, bro. At the end of the day, we have a lack in talent. You guys said on this show about a month ago, it's going to take 3 or 4 drafts off season.
But Tyrone, we're talking about overall roster depth. Lacking talent can't be your starting offensive line. Like your starting offensive line is going to be the anchor, like the foundation of your team. So if you want to bring in like fringe corners and your backup linebacker is half-ass, okay, but you're telling me your left tackle you're going to take a risk with, your right tackle is going to be an unknown or a guy that we know sucks, that's not exactly giving me any confidence. Like, there's not a lot of certainty to the offensive line other than really center.
But how do we know how it's going to end? What if he trades for Trent Williams? What if he brings in Peters? What if he brings back Beecham? You know what I'm saying? These are moves that still can be made. I think the problem is, man, we're over jumping this. I understand that we as Jet fans, we get overexcited with the bad jump. I'm not going to say Joe Douglas can't draft till after his first draft. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna say he can't find talent till after his first off season. I can't do that honestly.
Okay, Tyrone, if you look at the draft, but if you're looking at the draft and you look at the draft, and listen, I understand. Like, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to keep it real because we're getting this. He's a genius, doing the best job ever, and it's like, listen, this could blow up in our face very easily. But the thing is, if you have 7 draft picks or you have 6 draft picks, what is a reasonable expectation of what you're getting back out of that draft class? Reasonable, not being, Kool-Aid style, just saying a fair, what can happen?
You know, at the end of the day, man, I feel the same way you feel, Tyson. So I'm looking at, we have 7 draft picks. So I'm looking at if we can get 3 or 4 players that can produce or that can contribute this year, I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I'm like everybody else. I love Robbie. I thought Robbie was good for the team. At the end of the day, to see him leave for peanuts, I'm a little frustrated with that. So you're not going to replace a guy like Robbie. But what you can do is you can add talent. You know what I'm saying? A.J. Green's still available. You don't know how things are going to shake out. Well, I'll tell you what really bothers me more than anything is we should have traded for a guy like Hopkins. That should have been the move to make. That's what you give Sam. You give Sam stuff like that. But if we still, with our offensive line, what he's done so far, I'm okay with because he can still make other moves. You know what I'm saying? We'll see how the draft goes. I mean, at the end of the day, he could go receiver first round, or he could go receiver second and third, or 2 in the third. I mean, this is a deep. Everyone keeps saying it's a deep receiver draft, and I'm not going to say that I'm counting on a rookie to come in and produce at a high level like Robbie would. No, I'm not. But I'm also looking at the fact that we got Herndon back next year. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even counting Q. I'm not even looking at him. You know what I'm saying? So I understand that we need receivers. You know what I'm saying? I understand that we have a lack there. But at the end, before all this started, we needed offensive linemen. Yeah, they aren't the best offensive linemen, but they're better than what we had last year. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not saying tackle-wise. We still tackle is not done, but the guards, I mean, it's better.
Yeah, first off, I want to thank you for calling in, Tyrone. I hear what you're saying, but I don't think we got better at our tackle position at all. I don't think George Fant is better than Joe.
I didn't say Joe. I said that's the only thing we didn't get better at. But what if we bring in Trent Williams and move Fant over to the right side? You know what I'm saying? Well, all this stuff can still be done.
Yeah, you're right, and that was one of the things I've constantly said. I'm still looking to see how Joe does this going forward, but we're just talking about as of right now. Some of the signings. I don't want Fant starting at all. He wouldn't have been a guy that I would have targeted at all. We could have made a trade for Trent Williams and then, possibly drafted a guy or went elsewhere, paid a guy, some of the guys that we were talking about in the offseason that we were raving about. Fant to me is not an upgrade, but you're paying him like he's going to be a starter. So you would assume that he is going to start at some point. And then even if you're rolling the dice about that draft stuff, there's a chance that there's no tackles there for us to draft. And then we're kind of stuck. So that's the kind of situation you like to see. But I'm hoping he does make the trade for Trent Williams. I think that'd be huge for us. It'd be vital for our left tackle position. But if he doesn't, then we're gonna have some issues up front, especially blocking. But I want to get your thoughts on this, man. When you look at this situation and you look at defense, what are your thoughts about us bringing in Desir? Do you think he betters our cornerback position?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a no-brainer right there. Him and Poole, I'm okay with that. Get a rookie who else breaks loose, I'm okay with that. I was worried about bringing in cornerbacks. Where we were going to find a cornerback at because the market was getting small. I wanted Harris. There's a couple other players that I would like for us to got. The shit, man, he's a great player. He's solid. And under Greg Williams, he's going to flourish. Listen, man, the one thing we have an advantage of, we have a great defensive coordinator. That we do have. We have a great defensive coordinator that gets the best out of the players. That's why I think Jordan Jenkins came back for us back. I can't believe Poole came back for $5 million. I can't believe that. Poole was a third-ranked best slot corner in the league, and we got him back for $5 million. So, that's crazy to me. I would like to see a 2-year deal to show him up, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, we got to take what we can get. I still think it's still small moves that we can make. I think we're so used to making the flashy moves and winning in free agency and then losing during the season. And one more thing I want to point out, man, listen. Sam missed 4 games. Now, I'm not saying that we would have made the playoffs or nothing like that. Sam missed 4 games. How much better would Sam have been if he would have played those 4 games at the end of the season? That's what I'm asking. I don't care about the 6-2 because that's a joke because, you know what I'm saying, we wasn't a good football team, period. But what I'm saying is if Sam played all four games that he missed, how better of a season would we have had? You know what I'm saying? How many more wins would we have had? I think that Sam has to grow. It's not only with him, but you have to give him weapons as well. But listen, how well he's played, Joe, without weapons. So imagine they give him some weapons this offseason.
No, and I'm right there with you. I've been talking about investing in the offense and investing in Sam for I don't know how long. People have been getting after me because of that. Because I've talked about nothing but doing whatever we can do to help Sam because that rookie deal is ticking. But my problem with that argument is saying, well, what if he would have played those games? How would we have known that? We don't. That Browns game that he missed, how do we know he doesn't get decapitated by Myles Garrett? How do we know that? This offensive line was horrific. Do you not remember what happened to Trevor Siemian in that game? That was the game he broke his ankle in. Our offensive line would have gotten him killed. How do you even know he finishes the season? Those are the games when we were getting crushed. Like they were absolutely just. There was no blocking at certain points during that stretch. How do we know that?
They didn't respect our coaching. They didn't respect our quarterback. Well, listen, I'm not going with the. But listen, I'm not trying to go with the hypothetical. All I'm saying is this: that what Joe Douglas has done thus far, I'm okay with. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to improve this team slowly but surely. We're not going to fix everything this offseason. And we have a fan base that, oh, my God, well, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. Bruh, we knew this in the beginning. We haven't had a pass rusher since Abraham, bruh. It's been 14 years. We haven't had a receiver of 1,000 yards since Marshall. Who was a 1,000-yard receiver before Marshall? Name him. We've had 5 bad drafts. But listen, exactly. Listen, fellas, I'm asking you a question. We have had 5 bad drafts. Do you agree with that? Do you agree in the last 5 drafts we've had? Well, hold on. But listen, how many players are still on this team from the last 5 drafts? How many? 1, 2, 5? Hey, look, less than 10, right? I know it's less than 10. Less than 5, 6?
Probably.
See, this is why we can't win. This is what we have to do. We have to get better in that department. That's why we have to bring in these small players like that, because every GM we had sucked before. The last good GM we had, I'm sorry, I think it was Tannenbaum. I really do. Tannenbaum, he got us good players. We need players. We don't have that. We don't draft in the middle. This is why our middle is so bad. This is why we're struggling to move forward. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna get JD. I'm gonna give him this draft. If he drafts 4 good players or 3 players that can contribute this year, that's a win to me. You know why? Because we've never had that before. We've had a first round, which you can't get wrong, and then you've had nothing else. You gotta pray and hope. Hold on. One more thing.
We've had first rounders that we haven't been wrong.
Oh, Tyson, exactly. Well, Tyson, hold on. You guys remember, and I know you guys remember. This is why I love this show, bro. Listen, do you guys remember when we used to be so scared of the second round pick, bro? Do you understand that chance we have in the second round pick? Oh my God! Look, just give it away. We're not gonna get it right. Exactly. This is what I'm talking about, fellas. This is what I'm talking about. This is what we got to. This is what we got to get used to. We got to break that bad dream. You know what I'm saying? This is what we used to, bro. You know who does that, though, Tyrone? Yeah, but you know who does that? Joe Douglas does that 3 or 4 years in a row. Absolutely. But
the thing is that, look, and I hear you, but spending in a little bit more in free agency to kind of supplement to help some of your bad positions, like we talked about. We talked about offensive line being as horrific as it is. Spending just a little bit more to get a Jack Conklin or something like that would have done us a world better than bringing in Fant for $9 million. And that wouldn't kill us. It doesn't kill us to do those things. I hear you, Tyrone. Drafting is big, and I've said that before. Yes, we should build through the draft. That's been my philosophy. Build through the draft. Do what you can through the draft. But guess what?
But we
also got a young quarterback on a rookie year deal that's got 2 years left. We need to adequately protect him. And if we can do just a little bit to get supplement and get those pieces in, let's do that, and then continue to back that up with the draft. It wouldn't have killed us to get Jack Conklin what he got at all.
We can't build. Joe, listen, this is the whole point, though, Joe. We can't only build through this draft. We have to get free agency, too. So I understand where you're coming from. Yeah. Because, this is the lack of understanding. But let me say one more thing, fellas. I know y'all get me off. We got the guys. Let me say this right here. This is the problem with our organization, with our ownership. This is my issue I have. How do you let the guy you're going to fire buy the groceries, dog?
I talked about that, guy.
This is why we here. You feel me? Now, could you imagine Joe Douglas having that kind of money last year? The kind of line we would have had in front of Sam last year. See, this is what I'm talking about, bro. This is what I'm saying. So I'm gonna get this man. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. Huh? Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Tyrone, good talking.
I love you guys. Hey man, always, baby. Hey Tyson, you've been very nice to Steve tonight. Tyson, I am very proud of you. I guess the coronavirus got even Tyson nice. What the world is going on, bro? Love you guys, man. Be careful.
Not only was I nice to him, he was the first caller, too. We gave him all kinds of benefits tonight.
Yeah, well, first off, I want to thank Tyrone for calling in. It's always great to speak to him. But, I like that. Steve stepped up, did his thing, man. I like that he came in with hot takes, and he backed you up awesome. That was the deal. You couldn't get after him tonight because he, would have gave the fire to you.
Well, I was busy dealing with the other trolls that are bothering me. So 929-477-2651. My Twitter account's a mess, dude. You don't understand what I'm dealing with. My Twitter account is an absolute disaster. Complete disaster. You have no idea.
Hey, man, everyone, again, Young J000, go ahead and follow me. We can go back and forth all day as well. Nothing but respectful debate. You want to leave? Hey, I need more followers. No issues at all.
And, yeah, who the hell's Primetime? But we got to bring him up to help us, too, because you and him are fighting. I'm supposed to be the voice of reason. Now I'm Captain Chaos. We got to bring Primetime back on in a couple minutes, too, because you guys have some unfinished business.
Unfinished business. Dude, that business has been finished, okay? It is what it is there. He cannot put up an argument at all against what I got for him. But, you're not the voice of reason. You got people pissed off on Twitter, people going after you all the time. You go after people, too. It is what it is, man. Deal with what you've dealt with.
Of hearing, we'll just draft him. We'll just draft it. Anything, it's like going to the grocery store. We're just going to pick that up real quick, and then we got what we need. No problem. It's not that easy all the time. It's just, seriously, dude, it's crazy. So we're going to go, yeah, it's just, they're like, look, why are you so negative? I'm like, dude, why am I so negative? How long have we been Jet fans? Have we learned nothing over the last how many years? Our team we're barren of talent. But why am I so negative? We've been through this firsthand. Whatever. We're going to go to Matt in Long Island. Matt, what's up, man? Yo, Matt. Joe, do you hear Matt? 'Cause I don't hear Matt.
No, he ain't there. Oh, maybe he's back.
No, I
did. He's here now.
What's up, Matt? How you doing, man?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
So you have
a different view on Robbie Anderson than most of you guys. He's not as good as everyone's put out to be. You ever hear what is it, battered woman syndrome? When all right, hear me out really quick. So it's been so bad at wide receiver that an average to above average receiver we're all glorifying right now. He just started running a full route tree the last 7 to 8 games of the year. He's a good player, undrafted, hustled, but he disappeared a lot. Let's be real. I don't understand the whole. What is it?
Well, it's not like he broke the bank. His contract was nothing crazy, and you look at what else is out there. I mean, you got to build around Sam. He already has chemistry. He knows the offense. I mean, is there a downside to bringing him back?
All right. Well, for the 2 years, I have no idea we have no idea what Joe Douglas is thinking about spending money next. But the chemistry thing is, all right. He's not a guy who can get open right away. And the Jets' offense, I'm the worst in the NFL.
He's not a guy that can get open right away with his speed.
No, he's a deep guy. Come on, he's not a slant guy. He's not that. It takes a while. That game where he has 14 catches. He's not a blanket. He's not what Jamison Crowder was. Yeah, he's more dominant, but he's not that yard depth guy. He's he runs fast, like one speed full. He's not elusive. He's not east to west. That's not him. He has great hands.
So your thoughts on, so they brought in, what do you think about Perryman, and then how would you handle the rest of the wide receiver group?
Hold on, it cut out, boss. Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
What are your thoughts on Perryman, and how would you handle the rest of the wide receiver group?
So I know I'm coming off. I'm very negative right now, but so he's to say one's better than the other. It doesn't really matter, but the contract was way better. And it's 1 year. You're not tied to him. And then the draft coming up is deeper than 2014's draft. If you guys remember that draft, that was one of the deepest wide receiver drafts in years. So it just made sense. The offense was 32nd last year. The chemistry thing Darnold's 22 years old. It's not going to matter in the long run what they did in that year that they were terrible. I know we're trying to hold on to them, but it doesn't matter. The offensive line matters. Like, when the Jets were relevant and good, they drafted the 2 linemen in the first round, Mangold and Ferguson. That lasted us a decade. We need to get back to that. Like, the receivers can't be good unless we really get that line good, down pat. We can't forget that. We can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And look, and first off, I want to thank you for calling in. I hear exactly what you're saying. I've been pounding the table for offensive line help here for years. I want to see how Joe Douglas continues to address that going forward, because I don't have a lot of faith in Fant. He wasn't necessarily one of the best we could have made, But I want to get your thoughts on this. You look at this situation with Trent Williams up there. The Redskins, they're just going through it. Things are starting to get really public at this point. What do you think the Jets could offer to possibly get him at this point? And would you be interested in kind of, upping his contract a little bit?
Honestly, no. Just because, all right, if the Jets were in a better position to win now, obviously I want the Jets to win all the time, but being realistic, they're really not in that position. That guy hasn't. I read somewhere, I don't know if this is on point, but he hasn't played 16 games since 2013, and then he missed an entire year last year. He's in his 30s. I would be, kind of weary on giving a guy like that a contract, extending it or giving him anything where it seems that he wants, And honestly, we have to see what we're down to with who's there at pick 11. If Andrew Thomas is there, I just don't see how they can pass him up. I don't know. I know he's not Ryan Kalia, but after that happened, I just don't want chasing players. You know what I mean? Even if Williams comes back, no one really knows where that is at this point. You know what I mean?
No, I agree, man. There's definitely some risk. There's also some risk. We see a lot of things about Jason Peters, who is older than dirt, and that's I understand everybody's thinking, but that's kind of risky as well. What are your thoughts on Jordan Jenkins and Brian Poole coming back on one-year deals?
Love them both. So Jenkins, I love that deal. The only reason why I don't the whole deal is because that guy is great, and if he balls out this year, now we got to pay him even more money. I think they should have gave him a 2-3 year deal. He's a football player, dude. Like he's a football player. You know what I mean by that? He goes, what you're getting at it from every single game. This guy you can just.
No, I agree.
Adams, the thought of having both of them back there for years is, that makes me happy, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
Matt, thanks for calling in, man. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Have a good night. It's funny, Joey, because now it's like I'm trying to watch Twitter, I'm trying to watch all this stuff, and he's like, I want to call in. I'm like, here you go. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, dude, we got you. Like, we're a one-stop shop here, man. We don't mess around at all. Don't call us out. We're bringing it on.
Yeah, first off, I want to thank you for calling in. We're open to everybody. We tell people that all the time. Hey, you get on the line, you call in, you wait your time, and we'll bring you right on, and we'll discuss. We love debating with all Jets fans.
929-477-2651. Make sure you check us out. We're on YouTube, Let's Talk Jets Radio, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're on iTunes, Spreaker, Apple Bean, Apple Pod, whatever it's called, Google Play. We're going to go to Victor in Yonkers. What's up, Victor?
Yeah, how you doing, guys?
Not too bad, man. How you doing?
Good. Just sitting here listening to everyone's thoughts, wishing I could chime in the middle of it.
So what's your take on free agency so far?
Okay, so one thing I've noticed about a lot of Jet fans, they remind me a lot of Knicks fans. They get all their hopes and dreams in a bag, and if you don't get Kevin Durant and Zion Williamson and Kyrie Irving, then it's a complete bust. Everyone accepted that Joe Douglas had to come up and not only fix the team, not only build the team, but fix the team. He had to fix the mess that Mike McCagnon made, the big mess he made. Like, everyone's like, why didn't we throw all this money at all these other people? Well, look at Tremaine Johnson. You got to understand, a lot of people are a product of the system that they're in. These guys know more than us. Like, this guy's an offensive lineman. He probably looked at Jack Conklin like, I'm willing to offer you this much, but is me giving him that much going to change my team? Am I really trying to make the playoffs next year off of Jack Conklin? If Jack Conklin is the only person I can get, am I going to change my team with that? They offered him more. You don't know the guarantees. If I was Jack Conklin, am I going to the Jets, or am I going to the Kareem Hunt, Jarvis Landry, all these people? Maybe it didn't fall on Joe. Some people, they come up with an opinion of why we didn't get Joe, and they run with it, and then they start throwing stories on top of it, like, oh, Joe, I heard Kevin, he said something about Joe dropped the ball with Robbie. How? He's acting like we lost DeAndre Hopkins. Deshaun Watson.
Well, I mean, it's more about just trying to. I think the whole thing with Robbie Anderson is just having talent at the wide receiver position and building around Sam.
He does.
Listen, I can understand that.
We lost the second best person. If Robbie was Sam Darnold's, golden ticket, his blanket, why did Jamison Crowder, after one season, come in and get more yards, get more receptions, get more targets? We brought in Perryman. He got almost a lot more yards than Robbie in 6 games.
But we gotta.
Yeah, but that was going to air it out.
We gotta be. Yeah, it's a significantly different offense.
They were airing it out up there.
Robbie, don't get me wrong. I love Robbie. I'm not a Robbie hater. I love Robbie. I did not want to see him go. I love Robbie. I would have loved to have Robbie and Perriman. We had enough money for that. But the thing is, when we lose Robbie and everyone's losing their minds, it's, okay, Perriman was behind Mike Evans, Godwin, Brate, O.J. Howard. Robbie was wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. He was getting 8. I was looking at the stats. He was getting 7, 8, 9 targets a game. And he was getting 50 yards, 60 yards, 70 yards. Then he was full for 125. And one thing I noticed about Robbie Anderson, he starts exploding when the games just don't matter anymore. When we're already out of playoff contention, when we're starting to fight for like, oh, we want the top 3 picks, the top 5, then you see Robbie exploding. Then you see,
that was the Jets offense. Wait, hold on, time out. Listen, that's when the entire Jets offense started exploding, when the season was over. When they started beating bad teams like the Giants, and they had their blowout game against the Raiders, and that's when the whole season started playing better. They ended 6-2, and they beat Duck Hodges and barely beat the Bills. You know what I mean? That wasn't just Robbie. That was everybody. Even Le'Veon Bell played better.
Well, Le'Veon Bell was running behind one of the worst. The thing is, Le'Veon Bell's his style of play just doesn't work with us. He likes to look for the hole and run. Adam Gase's offense, it's more like just straight up speed. Get out of there. Like a Jordan Howard, like he's breaking. I really wanted Jordan Howard as a backup running back. Like he just
I hear what you're saying, but my thing is that if you're an offensive genius, and that's what Adam Gase claims to be, and everybody claims that Adam Gase is, why couldn't you mold your offense to what Le'Veon Bell does well? If you don't feel that he's necessarily the greatest running back or runner within your system, why not put him out wide more? Why not put him in the slot more? Why wait for week 12 to do something like that? Why not do it before that?
Do you think we should have won 7 games? I don't think we should have won 7 games. And to be honest, we probably could have made the playoffs if we beat the Bengals and the Dolphins when they both had 0 wins.
But we didn't.
We could have.
But we didn't.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we didn't.
We could have.
We also could have lost to the Dolphins twice as well. I don't deal with the coulda, woulda, shouldas, the whole deal of, well, we could have been a playoff team. No, we shouldn't have, because we were not there. Everyone's saying these things, but again, you're taking a lot of things out of context. There was a lot of games where we were getting completely crushed and we were getting blown out. Offensively, yeah.
Defense, we had a top 3 running defense, a top 10 overall.
Yeah, but we had an offense that was dead. We had an offense. You're right, but we had an offense that was dead last in the league. There's no playoff teams that have an offense that is completely as dysfunctional as ours was. No playoff team.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And where does that go?
We can't play like the what if games there at all. So you have to kind of change up the way that we're doing things there.
Why pay Robbie? Why? Why pay him 12, 13, 14 million if we're dead last? He did he ever break 1,000 yards?
No, he's never had 1,000 yards in his entire career. And look, I'm listening to you, and I said some of the same things that you're saying. Is like, look, I like Robbie as well. I think he's a solid wide receiver. But if you're talking about paying him that 13, 12 or whatever million, anything past 10 to me, dude, you know, I can see why they let him walk. Because I think you can still get a player that does exactly what he does. Now, one of the reasons I also think you can move on from Robbie, because if you don't give him that money, it's to invest it in other places. That's what I would have liked us to do a little bit more. That's what I'm saying, and you were talking about earlier, I would have liked for us to go get a guy like Jack Conklin, because that's an immediate upgrade. I know you talked about Robbie and all these other things, but our biggest problem last year was our offensive line play. He's an immediate upgrade to your offensive line. He's an immediate upgrade to right tackle. You don't have to worry about that. You can't go in and still be worried. I'm sorry, George Fant to me is he's not a starter.
I don't know anything about George Fant. I don't.
He is not.
I don't. He was a tight end that he became overweight, so they put him on offensive line. That's all I see.
Exactly.
That's all I see in George Fant. But
he is not good. But I want to
what I
see
in Robbie's.
Go ahead. Yeah. So I want to get your thoughts on this real fast.
Yeah,
I wanted to get your thoughts on this real fast. I know you were talking about Robbie in that situation, but I want to get your thoughts just on that cornerback spot as well, too. What are your thoughts about Desir, man? Because a lot of people are really raving about us bringing him in as well.
Who, Desir?
Yeah, Desir.
You talking about the cornerback? Yo, I like him. Is he a shutdown? He's not a shutdown corner, but for what the money we got him in, those are the moves that make me like Joe Douglas. That he's not trying to change the team by bringing in a bunch of stars and trying to make them save the team. He brings in all these really good role players. It can almost be like the Colts. Well, I know that they were bad because they lost Andrew Luck, but when Andrew Luck came back, they put a bunch of pieces in there for him. They drafted Quentin Nelson, and then in the second round, they got lucky and struck on Darius Leonard. Those 2 or 3 different moves change a team completely. We bring in Desir. We kept Brian Poole, Jordan Jenkins. A lot of people's like, oh, we didn't do much on defense. Well, we were a top 3 run defense, and now we're bringing back Avery Williamson, who's really good at stopping the run, and we're bringing back C.J. Mosley. He had more touchdowns. C.J. Mosley had two interceptions, I believe. I could be wrong, but he had 2 interceptions early before he got hurt. He was really rocking. When we were playing the Bills, we should have beat the Bills if it wasn't for our kicker situation. If we didn't miss 2 kicks at the end.
Is there any pass rushers that you want? Do you want like a Marcus Golden? Do you want Everson Griffin, or are you looking to the draft?
Nah, draft. I'm not going for pass rush. For pass rush, I do not want Clowney. What I want Yannick Ngakoue. If we can't get him, if we can't make a trade for him, then I would like Golden.
What are you trading? What are we trading to get him?
If we got into the phone with the Jaguars and they're really willing to give him up, I offer a third. They're not going to take that, but I would offer a second. I would for him. I would, but I really want. I didn't want us to go into free agency trying to get a superstar pass rusher. We could have got Robert Quinn. We could have got Everson. We could have got a Marcus Golden. We could have gave a Robert Quinn 10, Golden 8, Emerson 5. I mean, it's a lot of money, but you're giving people that have a bunch of sacks and you're putting them in there with Jordan Jenkins. That would have been a good defense. You don't need a superstar. You don't have to. That's the thing. A lot of people want us to build through the draft too. You can't expect a rookie to come in and save the team. You got to bring the rookie into a team with role players that are holding it down and teaching him the ropes, and then he takes over. If we like the cornerback we brought in, that was a great idea. Now, what if we're sitting at 11? You might not like this. What if we're sitting at 11? All the tackles are gone, and Jeff Okudah's there. Oh. That's a guy you might want to consider. If all the tackles are gone, I heard you guys ask earlier.
If we take a corner
in the first, you take a corner in the first round, the first show after we do that, I will lose my mind. If you take
let me ask you a question.
There. If you take a corner in the first round, I'm going to lose it.
Not C.J. Henderson.
There's no way.
Hell no. Jeff Okudah, who's supposed to be the third person off the board. That's like saying if Chase Young falls to 11, we don't take him.
Chase Young is a pass rusher. Listen, you are sitting here telling me that you cannot go in and not take a wide receiver with all the needs that we have. I understand Okudah is a great player. We are such a weight of talent in our offense. Are you talking about pouring yet again into our defense in the first round? We've done that for I don't know how many years. That's why our offense sucks. We have no talent.
No, that's right.
Nothing.
That's right.
So you cannot continue to do that. If CeeDee Lamb is on that board, if Jerry Jeudy is on that, hell, if Henry Ruggs is on that board, you better take one of them. You better take one of them. Who's that young quarterback? Because you don't.
Who's drafting at 14?
You don't give a damn about Sam Darnold.
The 49ers are at 14. They want Jerry Jeudy. What if we're at 11, all the tackles are gone? Are you calling the 49ers and trading back to 14 so they could get their Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb, and then we could get either CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, or Henry Ruggs? Because we could get a second-round pick if we move back 3 spots.
If you value those guys over, why would you give Jerry Jeudy to them when you don't have a Jerry Jeudy? We haven't had a number 1 wide receiver that we've drafted in I don't know how long. So if you think that they're going to take a guy away from you that you covet, no, you don't put down. Why would you do that? Not down that far. You can move one spot. You can move 2 spots.
Between Kobe and McGregor. It's like Carmelo and LeBron. It's like they go together. It's your preference. Who's better? What do you want in your team? I prefer CeeDee Lamb. I feel like he's going to be like Hopkins. I would take a wide receiver in the first round if we can land Trent Williams. I feel like Joe Douglas get Trent Williams. Because if he goes to the free agency market, it's going to come down to what does he value more, winning or money. If it comes to money, Joe Douglas is not going to outbid himself, so we're not going to get him. If it comes to winning, we're not going to get him. He's probably going to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. So that's why Joe Douglas needs to get Trent Williams. Why not Jason Peters? A lot of people don't like Jason Peters. I don't understand. He was a top tackle. I don't care that he's 38 years old. That's the kind of player, George. Well, if you want to pay George Fant $10 million, that's who you pay. Jason Peters to teach him.
Wait. You're gonna pay Jason Peters what, $10 million to teach a $9 million guy?
No. I'm not going to pay Jason Peters $10 million. We shouldn't have paid George Fant $10 million. If we were going to pay George Fant $10 million, we might as well have given it to Jason Peters. Those are the moves that
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Victor, thanks for calling in, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night. Joe, this is nice. This is a refreshing change. I started off the show in chaos, and now you're arguing with people. We've come full circle tonight.
No, first off, I want to thank the last caller for calling in. I'm not necessarily going after people like you be doing and just trashing people. I don't do that. But, look, I understand, I understand the take, but there's just no way you can tell me that you're going to pass up on one of these wide receivers that can completely change our offense, and go defense again. I don't give a damn. That's just too much. You have got to help Sam out in any way possible. And if you can get him a top target, then you make that happen, dude. You make that happen any way that you can.
Dude, if they did that, if they passed on Jeudy and took a corner, we would go live that night. We'd do a show that night. We would do a show at 10 o'clock at night that night. Because I wouldn't be able to sleep anyway. It wouldn't matter.
No. That night, I'm talking about right after the pick. right after the pick. How about that? Like, like I said, I respect the kid. I know he's a good corner, but my God, come on. Like, how long are we going to do this? Like, that I would just lose my mind. There's just no way.
All right, we're going to go to Ronaldo in New York. Ronaldo, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, boys?
Living the dream, man.
So free agency has been crazy, yo. We've got, like, literally no one.
You don't like our offensive line?
I mean, it's not really an offensive line, it's just a bunch of guys, like last year. Same old, same old.
What do you think about Robbie leaving?
I mean, yo, I feel like the contract we just gave this Perriman dude, I think that's the exact same contract Joe Douglas offered to Robbie Anderson. It was just less guaranteed money.
Million?
Like, I mean, like, literally. No, that's just a guarantee. No, I mean, like $9 million fully or whatever he got. But, I don't know, Robbie, the Sun God, he's more of a meme than a great player, honestly. He was wide receiver 2 at best.
Yeah. First off, I want to thank you for calling in, man. Do you think what the Jets have done in free agency so far allows them to take anything else but an O-lineman in the first round?
I mean, it depends on, like, how highly you think, like, Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb or, like, someone like Denzel Mims you could get, like, later in the draft or, like, something like that. If one of your top 4 tackles is there at the draft, I know it's not a sexy pick, but at the end of the day, we have to protect our franchise quarterback. So I feel like at the end of the day, it's going to be impossible for us to take anybody but an offensive lineman. I just can't see it happening.
So what is your take about all the guys that came back on defense, like Burgess and Poole and Jordan Jenkins, Millette? Are you happy about that?
Yeah, I mean, and the deals are great, like $5 million, $6 million for this guy. I mean, if this was Mike McTaggart, I mean, shoot, Jordan Jenkins might be the highest paid defensive player in the league right now, honestly. I mean, that's usually 8 sacks would have got him. Contract he would have collected. I mean, goddamn. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for actually knowing how to be a GM. Thank you.
Yeah, but see, the only thing is, are you concerned that we're giving out a ton of one-year deals that we're going to be in the same position next year?
Hey, you think about it, we're not going to be good next year anyway, so why fork up all this money on a bunch of players when we're going to be crap? I mean, Joe Douglas is a realist. I mean, he's doing his job. He knows. We have the second hardest schedule in football. Like, let's just keep it a buck.
See, you're in tank mode. It's March 24th, and you're in tank mode already.
Oh my God! No! I don't mean it like that. I don't mean like we're just going to be bad. Like, it's just going to happen.
Ronaldo, thanks for calling in, man. We appreciate it. So I'm not really sure what happened there. I thought we were gonna. He brings usually a different element to the show, and that was kind of just. I'm not sure how to digest that one.
Well, you know, look, I want to thank him for calling in. He called in and he gave us what he had. You know, it just is what it is. It's just been that type of night.
He said, "I don't care about one-year deals. We're going to suck next year anyway."
Hey, man. Hey, you know, that's where he is.
They call me negative. Jesus Christ, hey, he beats me.
Hey, man, he's looking at it. He said, "Hey, I've already thrown in the towel. What's done is done." So it is what it is.
All right, Joe, I'm going to give you a choice. You have your choice now. You ready?
Yeah.
You got Justin or Gangrene David?
Let's go Gangrene David, man. I want to hear from him.
All right, here he goes. What's up, David?
Gentlemen, what's going on? How are you?
Doing good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Just trying to stay safe, dealing with online classes. And now, because of that, I have more time to pump out videos, so I'm feeling pretty good.
So what are your thoughts on the Robbie Anderson saga?
Originally, I was upset to see him go. I was willing to bring back Robbie Anderson. My only concern was overpaying for him, because I'm not going to overpay for a guy who's never eclipsed 1,000 yards in his career. But, however, a wide receiver who's pretty much had to play with 5 quarterbacks throughout his career, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Josh McCown, Bryce Petty, Luke Falk, and Sam Darnold, the guy has starting receiver potential. I would have brought him back just because I think he's the best source of continuity for Sam, and I definitely think him and Sam have solid chemistry to work with as well. But, however, the contract that he got with Carolina, in a sense, makes me more relieved that we didn't bring him back. So what made me feel better is the Brashad Perriman signing. It's a 1-year prove-it-year deal. Brashad Perriman is younger than Robbie Anderson, and you're kind of getting on a cheaper deal, on a prove-it-year deal, a younger guy that can do something similar to what Robbie can do. Perriman's a guy who can get downfield. He's a big-body guy. We haven't really had that kind of guy since Brandon Marshall, if you want to maybe put it that way. So I like the Perriman signing. He's definitely a serviceable option to replace Robbie Anderson. I definitely still think you need to get that legitimate number one receiver for Sam Darnold to really grow with and connect with. And I personally like the Perriman signing going forward. I think he's a serviceable option replacing Robbie.
Yeah, David, I want to thank you for calling in, man. What are your thoughts on the 1-year deals of Poole, Neville Hewitt, and Jordan Jenkins?
Honestly, when I was a little confused on a couple of the 1 year, mainly Jenkins and Poole, I would have thought maybe Douglas would have given him like a 2 or 3 year deal. Then being that Douglas is a first-time general manager, Joe Douglas bringing these guys on 1 year deals, my prediction is that Joe Douglas wants to make sure that Jenkins and Poole, he wants to make sure that these could be his guys moving forward. He wants to make sure that Jenkins and Poole could be his guys in his regime going forward, because Jenkins was a Mike McCagnon draft pick. Brian Poole was a Mike McCagnon free agent signing last year. So if Joe Douglas...
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Hold on. Time out. Joe Douglas had 16 games to evaluate. He had 16 games to evaluate them last year. How many more games did he? He saw them firsthand for a year already. No, it's not like he inherited them and doesn't know what he has. He knows what he has. This could actually blow up in his face. If they play well again this year, it could actually cost him more money next year.
Well, here's the thing with that. I mean, if their market is up there next year, then sure, you could probably let them walk. But the thing with Jenkins and Poole is that...
Then you have another hole.
You could have another hole, but then again, you got to replace those holes either way. So, at the end of the day, Jenkins and Poole, they're probably complementary pieces right now. They're not exactly huge building blocks going forward, and Joe Douglas is going to have to really evaluate that throughout the season if they can be his building blocks going forward.
Wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not being a jerk, but
come on,
how is this ridiculous? I'm trying to make a point. I mean, I let you speak your point. Let me speak mine. This isn't difficult to do. Joe Douglas just watched both of these guys play. Okay, I'll make my point to you, see if it makes sense or not. Joe Douglas just watched them play for 16 games last year, or Jordan Jenkins 14 games. He already saw firsthand what they bring to the table, and he already saw all their film. He gave them a 1 year deal to what? See if they can do it again? And if they can, next year's going to cost them more. If you give them a 2 year deal now, or a 3 year deal now, if they're good, guess what? It's not a hole next year. You're not.
That was my only issue. That was my only issue with the contract that they gave Poole Jenkins. I thought they would have
actually made a point then, is what you're telling me.
No, I'm agreeing with you to that extent, but I can understand to an extent why Douglas is bringing in these guys, because at the end of the day, you're not going to want to overspend for certain guys, because the Jets made moves on the offensive line. They brought back some of their own guys, and they still have a considerable amount of cap space left so they could still address holes. I think that's why Joe Douglas brought these guys back on 1 year deals. Like Jenkins, I 100% agree with you. He should have gotten a multi-year deal, because this is a guy he started, not 16 games last year because he had an injury, but he was a relative starter that constantly grew as an under-the-radar pass rusher. And that's why I would have actually given Jenkins a 3 year deal. But if he was demanding that ridiculous amount of money and his market wasn't exactly as people expected it, then Joe Douglas is going to bring it back for less money and possibly maybe even extend it throughout the season and maybe not wait till free agency next year.
Which is possible. But I mean, at this point, you have what can happen is the same thing happened this year. He's going to say, you know what, I want to test free agency, so all these guys on the 1 year deal, we're going to go into next year with the same situation as who are we going to sign, who are we not going to sign, and we have holes again. That's it. We're going to be the same exact situation again.
So you think Joe Douglas wouldn't actually extend these guys mid-season like he did with McClendon and Griffin? He extended them mid-season. And at the end of the day, these are just complementary pieces. They're not exactly...
McClendon and Griffin didn't make any money. They didn't get any big money.
Well, yeah, but either way, like Joe Douglas could still possibly extend them mid-season. Like, do you really think he's going to wait?
Or they could say, you know what, we're getting a whole new TV deal in the NFL. There's going to be a lot more money to spend, and the salary cap's going to go up. I appreciate you reaching out. I'm going to test free agency. So then all these contracts were going to be the same exact
Jordan
quote next
Jenkins
year.
did that this year. How did that work out for him? His market wasn't
but
big at all. He ended up coming back.
Right, and then he's going to bet on himself and say, you know what, now he's going to get 10 sacks this year, and then say, you know what, I'm going to wait and try it again. And then what? We're back where we are.
Well, I think
especially the corner position. Look at the corner position, though. You got the Sears a one-year deal, Millette, Poole, all one-year deals. You could be without 3 corners next year going into free agency.
Well, personally, I would like to go younger at corner regardless. So I think Joe Douglas could probably wait to find that legitimate corner because the corner market isn't exactly that appealing to me this year anyway.
But, isn't the goal to Joe, you can go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, well, first, listen, I hear what David is saying, but I would have liked to have seen him at least get a 2-year deal, at least on Poole. I really feel like Jordan Jenkins was going to bet on himself either way, but it does kind of suck because, again, next year we'll go in and we'll have these holes again, and he's got to, kind of readdress these issues. But I want to go to the offensive line with you, David. I want to get your thoughts on this, man. How do you feel about the Jets bringing in Van Rotten? Do you think that he's a guy that immediately upgrades this line?
I think he's definitely a short-term continuity piece he could have on the line. I definitely think that he's a much better upgrade than Brian Winters, being a guy who's a pretty solid starting caliber lineman. You want to have that veteran presence on the line because the line has a lot of younger guys. Van Roten and George Fant, they're all 26 years old. So you want to have that veteran presence on the line. And I think Van Roten, a guy, he's 30 years old, but he's still a guy in his prime. This is a guy that I actually wanted the Jets to sign, assuming that they didn't get a guy like Thuney or Conklin or any of these guys like that. My only question is I still don't know what contract that they gave for him. I'm assuming that Douglas didn't overpay for him, but this is a good short-term piece of continuity in my opinion.
Is that really what you want on your offensive line, or don't you want to start getting building blocks? You have the same 5 guys week in and week out for 3 or 4 years.
Well, you're getting 3 years out of Van Roten, no?
You'd hope, but you're saying it's a short-term thing. To me, you're assuming all these guys.
Well, it's a short-term piece because if Van Roten plays till he's 33, are you going to bring him back?
I would assume so. I have no idea. Ideally, I like to have all linemen that are 25, 26. That's kind of where I want to get my guys. Get the old young group together, they grow together. That's what we're trying to do here, but we'll see what happens with that.
No, I can definitely understand that. And I like that the line is getting younger. I do like the McGovern signing. The George Fant signing, I'm still kind of iffy on, and I still think that I think Douglas is going to draft tackle in the first round regardless. But can I ask you guys a question, though? What do you guys possibly think of any potential draft scenarios where maybe you could possibly trade up and manipulate with the draft capital a little bit? I personally would not trade out of 11. Not out of 11, but would you maybe trade back up into the second round or in the late first round if you want a Justin Jefferson or a T. Higgins or anybody like that if Joe Douglas goes offensive line in the first round?
No.
Dude, I'm going to say no too because my thing is right now everybody's answer is we're just going to draft these guys and we don't have a lot of draft picks to begin with. We can't start giving up draft picks. You're going to sell your soul for one player, and we need a lot of pieces, man. So my initial answer, I guess, I'm going to say no. But Joe, what do you think?
No, and hell no. We don't have enough draft capital as is to fill a lot of the holes and the issues that we have. I think trading up, unless you somehow accumulate a bunch of super late round picks, and you're able to move up later. In the late rounds, I can see that being done because that's stuff that McCagnon used to do. He was making a lot of really stupid trades in the draft. But no, I wouldn't trade up, back up into the second. I've heard people talk about us trading up in the first to assure that we get a tackle. I think that wouldn't necessarily be a good idea too, because again, we have limited draft capital. So as of right now, absolutely not. Unless we get some type of influx of capital from somewhere, no, thank you.
Well, I can understand that, and I personally don't think Joe Douglas would do that regardless. But, there was one scenario that I was possibly entertaining on a little bit, but being that looking at the way Joe Douglas approach free agency and he wants to actually really connect it to the draft as his premium, I think Joe Douglas is going to value every sort of pick that's pretty much necessary. So I can agree with you on that to an extent, but I was just wondering if there was any sort of scenario whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, every year like, a guy drops, and we're like, oh, my God, this guy's dropping, get him. But now it's like we got to look at how many other holes we were trying to fill and the young talent we're trying to accumulate. So, I mean, you never know. I mean, Joe Douglas could be a guru. I have no idea, but as of now, I don't think he's going to, but we'll see. David, thanks for calling in, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It's good talking to you guys again, and great show as always. I'll definitely be listening back.
And Gangrene David on YouTube, right?
Yes, sir. And good job with your content, guys. I'd admit you guys are doing a hell of a job with your videos. Keep it up.
See, David, now what you're supposed to say is, hey, Joe, where are your videos at? Ask Joe where his videos are at.
Come on, man.
Yeah, Joe, where are your videos at?
He knows my videos are on the way. I've been working extremely hard, and everybody knows that. So I got more content on the way. Goodness gracious.
Well, I mean, Joe has a clever intro in his videos. Please comment, rate, subscribe, guys. Comment, rate, subscribe, like the videos. I want every one of you guys to share my videos on YouTube as well. You guys are the absolute best.
Thank you for that, David.
Clever Joe. Good night, David. Have a good night, man. Take care.
David
came in with some fire, man.
Yeah, and he did. He knows that by heart, man. That's impressive, man. Thank you, David, for calling in, and thank you for watching my vids too, man. That was crazy.
All right, we're gonna go. See, now I'm gonna sit back and relax. This is when complete chaos breaks out. We're gonna bring on Justin. Justin, what's up, man?
What's going on?
What are your thoughts about Robbie Anderson leaving and Rashard Perriman coming in?
All right, let's pump the damn brakes on Joe Douglas, Steve. Enough with the Joe Douglas. Joe Douglas, these moves play out. Joe Douglas made a trash move today. Trash. This move was horrendous.
You gonna tell us why?
I'm gonna tell you right now. Why, I don't even think they offered Robbie a fair contract because let's call it what it is. We have the money. We could have sweetened the pot a little bit. You guys think Carolina said, all right, we'll give you $12 million. Well, guess what? Joe Douglas should have said, all right, we'll give you 12 and 10. I mean, I said all along I was going up to $13, $14 million. Once I saw this number, my head was scratching. I get it. He hasn't had 1,000 yards. But let me, again, Sam didn't play 4 games. Say he has 4 more catches in each game. That's another 16 catches. I mean, we don't know if Joe Douglas can draft. We already know what Robbie Anderson is. For all these people saying Robbie Anderson was a one-trick pony, that's a false narrative because he wasn't. He improved. He had chemistry with Sam. And I'm going to tell you right now that having Robbie Anderson on this team would have gave us more flexibility at 11. Now I think we're forced to take a receiver at 11, which I don't think we know what is the ultimate goal here. To utilize Sam on his rookie deal and put the most talent around him, whether it be offensive line, receivers, to succeed. Taking away weapons from him instead of adding to him when you see what's going on in our division. I mean, come on, Joe Douglas.
Well, look, I want to thank you for calling in, Justin. I hear you're coming in with the fire. I mean, look, I get it. Some people love Robbie. I've said he is a one-trick pony because he is. But, you know, I look at it, hey, they wanted to move on from him. He was asking for a little bit too much, got a little bit too rich for their blood. Okay, no problem. What are your thoughts on bringing in Perriman? Because Perriman
we don't know what they
a guy that can do some of the same things that Robbie Anderson can do.
Nah. Let's not get out of hand now, Joe. Robbie Anderson is Rashard Perriman. He had one good year. Let's not get out of hand. He can do some of the same things as Robbie Anderson. Let's pump the brakes a little bit.
Okay, I mean, like I said, I think he is. Robbie's not a number 1 wide receiver. I think he's.
I get it. So his numbers were very similar. Yeah, he had one good year. I mean, if he can continue the trend upgrade, yeah. I mean, shit. We had Jeff Smith, Vincent Smith. We had to add someone there. So I mean,
watch him out. Watch it, Justin. Family show.
I mean, it's not a terrible move. Let's see what let's see what he can do. But if he can continue to trend upward, then it's not a terrible move. I'll give you that one. But I mean, let's talk about. Can we talk about these contracts a little bit?
We can talk about what you want, Justin. Go ahead.
I mean, come on. These contracts are terrible, horrendous. 1 year deal for Jordan Jenkins, horrible. 1 year deal for Brian Poole, horrible. 1 year deal for Pierre, horrible. 1 year deal for Perriman, horrible. These 1 year deals aren't doing anything. 2 or 3 year multi-year deals. I saw a couple. I was like, all right, maybe it's not the first couple, but then I just kept seeing the trend of these 1 year deals. Horrible. These guys are going to say, all right, let's ball out. We're going to ball out for 1 year. We'll have a nice year, and that's it. Let's get paid. It's just, these contracts is just 1 year deals. That's really not getting the job done.
Yeah. I hear you, Justin. I'm kind of right there with you, especially on a guy like Poole. You'd like to see at least a 2 year deal, but we've been talking about this all night. I said it earlier. Listen, once these guys, after this year is done, if they play well with these, some people are calling prove-it deals, whatever, they're going to bounce, and they're going to go back into free agency, and they're going to say, hey, look what I did last year. I've done it twice.
The one good thing about that, the one good thing about that, which maybe we'll get some compensatory picks, but who knows if this guy can even draft. So that's a story for another day.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I want to go with you, Justin. When you look at some of the moves that we made in free agency, do you think that allows them to do anything but take an offensive lineman in the first round?
Yeah, I think quite the opposite, to tell you the truth. If a guy like my number one guy is Lamb right now, but I mean, I don't think you can pass on a guy like Judy or Lamb or even Ruggs. I just right now I think it's a no-brainer pick. If Jeff Okudah, I said it before, if he's on the board, but I don't think he'll be on the board. But I don't think if these top two guys, I don't want the third best or fourth best offensive lineman. I'll wait second round. I'm going receiver if those two guys are off the board and Okudah's off the board. I don't really think it's a hard decision.
So you would go corner in the first round?
Okudah's on the board, absolutely. I'm taking him.
Joe, your thoughts?
Unless one of those two linemen. Unless one of those two linemen.
Unless there's an offensive lineman available?
Yeah, the top two.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Justin. You definitely got to take a lineman. Your thoughts, Tyson?
No, he said if the top two offensive linemen are gone, he's going to go corner if Judy's gone.
No, I want Lamb over Judy.
Well, there you go.
Justin, thanks for calling, man. We appreciate it.
Oh, can we talk about one more thing? The Jets should not be done in free agency. Everson Griffin should be the number one target we go after. That would help a guy like Jordan Jenkins. That would help a guy like Jordan Jenkins.
That may have been your best take. No, I completely agree, man. Thanks for calling in.
I think you give him and you give Jordan Jenkins, that could be around 16 sacks. That could help the lack of cornerback coverage.
No, Everson Griffin's a hell of a player, man. He's a very good player. So I completely agree. Very good player.
I got a question. How high would you go for him? I mean, the money's not really the issue right now. I mean, I'm trying to stay away from Clowney. I'd honestly give the money to Everson Griffin.
What's a comparable contract?
Depends. Not Warden money, obviously, not Clowney money, but I'd probably go with 2 year, maybe 18 or 19 million.
A year or total?
Total, 2 year, 19 million, something like that.
Oh, yeah, something like that. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm not sure that gets it done, but I mean, you probably have to go 10, 11. You may have to go up, because you figure Fowler got, 15? So,
yeah, I'd probably do 10 or 11.
Yeah, so.
We have it, I mean.
That's interesting.
10 or 11. I'd probably go 11, maybe max 12. I don't know how that sounds.
Yeah. Thanks for calling, man. We appreciate it. Now, Joe, we're going to go to our unfinished business because I wanted to do this a lot earlier, but our phone lines were completely out of control. We missed anybody. A couple people dropped off. We apologize. We tried to get everybody on as fast as we can. But now, I think my popcorn ready here, and now we're going to bring on Mr. Primetime. So this is the unfinished business part of the show. Primetime, how are you?
Unfinished business.
What's going on?
Hey, we can always take this to the YouTube streets if you don't have time to finish it up tonight. So
that's up to you guys, man. If you want to play on YouTube, I'm down for that.
Actually, I have to say, I give both of you guys plenty of respect for that opening today. The first 20 minutes I thought was completely spot on. You guys nailed it. I mean, the defensive moves, it's hard to find any faults with those other than the length of the contract and that, you're going to be in this situation again next year. But, just the way that they allocated some of the funds on the offensive line, and then, deciding not to pay Robbie but paying Perriman just a few $1 million less, those moves in general, just, you're trying to build around Sam with, pieces that are going to be here for continuity. And I think just, the combination of Fant, Van Rotten, and Alex Lewis, you take those guys away and you pay a Conklin, or, you still can do it, you make a trade for Trent Williams. Like, you're talking about two legitimate anchors between him and McGovern, and still the ability to take another guy at pick 11. So if we're really talking about reshaping this offensive line, I thought they missed, a really good opportunity with some of their funds that they did spend to secure a piece long term.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I don't really. That was my thinking. That's what I would have done. And I've said this 1,000 times. Look, I get it. People are talking about Fant. Everyone's talking about how he's an athletic basketball player. But when you look at what he got paid, you could have went up a little bit, just a little bit more to give Conklin what he needed. You could have brought him in, like you said. You trade for Trent Williams. Dude, you got two anchors, and then you get McGovern. We could have done that. That was extremely possible. There was nothing stopping it. Those guys got less than what we initially thought that they would get. So I don't know why that just went the way.
I don't know what drives me nuts more: the fact that we paid all these one-year stopgaps instead of Conklin, or the fact that there's so many fans that were all about Conklin for weeks and weeks and weeks that are now just calling him an average player. He's just a run blocker. I mean, the 180, 360, whatever on this guy is just completely insane. Literally everybody wanted him, and they made him the priority. And they said, if there's one guy you're going to overpay for, it's him. And now all of a sudden, he was just okay. We don't need him. Like, all right.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. I've seen fans now calling him trash and all kinds of things. But I'll tell you what, that would have been an upgrade from what we have, because even with Fant here, you have questions. Did you get better? Did we get better at our tackle position? And I'm sorry. Like, if you're looking at it, there's no way you can say that, because I don't think Fant is better than Beecham. I don't. Especially as a left.
No, I don't either. No.
So, I don't see what's going on there.
Just going back quickly to last week, that's my biggest issue, because if they did this right with Conklin at right tackle, they make the move for Trent Williams at left tackle, you are set up perfect at pick 11. If you get a number one wide receiver, or even if you take another offensive lineman and you go back-to-back receivers in rounds 2 and rounds 3, is that not enough talent for Adam Gase to work with? Should that not be enough talent for him to work with?
That should be. That should be enough for him to work with. He should be okay. Especially again, especially if you get a guy like Trent Williams or something like that in there, and that solidifies that. I could see us doing that. That would have been decent, depending on the wide receivers that would have ended up, in that second and third round too. That would have been okay for us to do. But man, I'm telling you, when you look at the situation now, I think you don't really have a choice but to go offensive line in the first round, really, especially if one of those tackles is still on the board. I don't think you can go wide receiver, because if we don't address that left tackle position, whatever we have out there, wide receiver is completely nullified. And we saw that this season, where Sam didn't even have time to wait for guys, because he would have these pass rushers screaming, down on him and be completely ridiculous. But Kev, I want to ask you about this, and I'm still waiting for you to bring the smoke. I'm letting you know. Anytime you want to break in and bring whatever smoke you got, believe me, I'm here for it. You know what I'm saying? I just want to let you know.
I on Twitter. I got roasted on the other night.
Oh, yeah, you're going to get crushed. But you already know what time it is. So I already know you're trying to, Tyson tried to bring you in, a little rough. I'm just letting you know I'm here, baby. You know what I'm saying? Anytime you want to smoke with me, let me know. I'll put out fires. That's what I do professionally. So it's no issues for me. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. Okay. I want to get your thoughts on this, though. Give me your thoughts on Pierre Desir, though, man. What do you think he brings to that cornerback position?
I mean, it's an upgrade from Darryl Roberts. Again, it's another one-year contract, but, you look at the hamstring injuries that, quote-unquote, were the reasons that he didn't perform up to par last year. 2017, he was a solid corner. The year after that, I'm pretty sure PFF had him in, the top 20. So, you figure if this guy's healthy, he'll bring at least a little bit more to the table than what Darryl Roberts brought. and by bringing back Millett and still having Wes Austin and Nate Hairston here, you'll have, at least some decent competition for that second corner spot. It's nothing to rave about, but, at least, you have a couple guys that can maybe hold the fort for, an affordable price until you can actually address it with some premium assets next year.
Yeah, that's the same way I was kind of thinking. I wouldn't mind us, going corner maybe later on in this draft as well to kind of, help out just in case, Joe sees a diamond in the rough in there. But yeah, I think the position is what it is. Jasir is a guy I think can step in and do some things. I know he dealt with a lot of injuries. He had some issues. Maybe he comes in and just plays solidly. I'm a little bit more worried about that second quarterback spot, especially when you look at the team that we're going to be playing this year. They're serious business, and I started to talk about that towards the end of last year as well, just looking for it. Some of the teams we got, they're going to be trying to light us up, so we got to figure it out. But again, we got Greg Williams here too, one hell of a defensive coordinator, a guy that, can really dial it up and figure things out. So I think that was a solid move as well, man. But I want to ask you this, Cass. How did you feel watching Roberts get released, man? I know a lot of fans saw that situation and remembered all the things that he said about fake-ass fans and stuff like that. How did you feel, man?
I didn't feel any way in particular. I mean, he was okay as a depth piece here for a couple of years, but then, once he obviously said that stuff about the fans last year, I was more than ready to move on. But I got to ask you this. How are you going to feel once Avery Williamson gets released now that we have Hewitt and Burgess and, Cashman's still here? So I can't see any way that they leave Avery Williamson on this roster making $6.5 million, on the last year of his contract, coming off an ACL injury. But, that's up to you. I don't know.
Okay, well, let me go ahead and answer that. Another icy one from you as usual. Look, I don't think we should. I don't think we should release Avery Williamson. I really don't. Burgess, Neville Hewitt, those guys are backup players. Those guys you have in for depth. Cashman as well. I know everyone's raving about him. Wasn't healthy last year.
Number one run defense with them last year. I mean, is Avery Williamson better as a run stopper than he is in pass coverage anyway?
Yeah,
but coming back.
Yeah, you got C.J. Mosley coming back. You got Avery Williamson. If you got Avery Williamson as a Pro Bowl linebacker and you're only paying him $6 million, what's the big problem? There's no problem.
He's not a Pro Bowl linebacker.
$6 million. He's a Pro Bowl linebacker. It's not a big deal.
He's not a Pro Bowl linebacker.
Not a big deal. He is a Pro Bowl linebacker. He went to the Pro Bowl in his career. Therefore, he's a Pro Bowl linebacker. What are you talking about?
When did he go to the Pro Bowl? Yeah. I didn't see any trips to the Pro Bowl.
Well, I think you need to look it up because he was there. So the whole deal is this. I understand what you're saying. You just want to throw this guy away because Mosley's making $18 million.
Here's the biggest issue.
That was your general manager that set that up because this is what you're running from as well.
I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's a good player. You just don't need it because you have C.J. Mosley and you have affordable guys that can hold the fort without him.
No. You have got no.
What's the purpose of paying him that money when you're not going to re-sign him next year? You're not.
Those guys were decent. Those guys were decent down the stretch, but they did not give you the same production that he would give you. Those guys were missing tackles down the stretch as well.
Well, but it's not just getting those guys. You're getting those guys plus the money to invest somewhere else.
And absolutely
at a premium position that you keep complaining about.
Oh, my God. Again, premium positions. I understand a premium position, but guess what? Avery Williamson, $6 million for a Pro Bowl line? Why not? A guy that's going to give you the production that he's going to give you? Why not?
Are you going to pay him next year?
You act like you're paying. No, you don't pay him next year. That's the point. You keep him here so he gives you production this year, and then next year you can address that. You can address that next year. Why would you cut him and lose the production that he would give you? First off,
so if you're not planning on re-signing him, why not invest that money into somebody that's actually going to be here for a couple of years? Unlike all the one-year contracts we've already signed.
Again, because you can do that in the draft, or you can do that next year. We wouldn't even be having this conversation if Mike McCagnon is the guy that you backed.
Here we go, guys. Here we go.
Had set that up. Yeah, here we go again spitting on.
I think Mike McCagnon started the coronavirus too.
Well, I don't know anything about that. I mean, he's freezing everywhere he goes. He does nothing but ruin stuff. So let me tell you something else. That's the guy you back. You're always on Avery Williamson, left and right. I don't get it, man. Look, James Burgess, Neville Hewitt, those guys were decent down the stretch. But guess what? There were games where they missed a ton of tackles. There were games where they were getting blown away in coverage. That's a fact. You keep talking about Cashman. Again, the guy was not healthy. And there were games he got abused as well. So why
C.J. Mosley is your run stopper. Cashman is better in coverage than Avery Williamson. I would take Cashman in coverage over Avery Williamson. Yes, I would.
Oh, my God. Okay. Okay. If that's what you want to do, that's fine.
Whether or not you stay healthy is a different topic. But again, you're talking about guys that are making peanuts compared to somebody else that's making about $7 million. Who's coming off an ACL injury that plays inside linebacker that's not going to be here.
So let me get this right. You're absolutely out here prioritizing Blake Cashman, like the guy that has no shoulders, the guy that doesn't play. Oh, well, he gets hurt, but that doesn't matter. So if he's not out there, what do you mean it doesn't matter? It does matter. Okay,
I mean, he's your fourth linebacker, and you would have the ability to go to a 4-3 if you need to. You have more than enough defensive linemen. There is no reason to get Avery Williamson.
I have no issues again with C.J. Mosley and Avery Williamson starting the season, and Burgess, Neville Hewitt, and Cashman being those backup guys. You just want to get rid of Avery Williamson just because, dude. You don't even really.
Why would I want to get rid of him? If I was a McCagnon guy and McCagnon brought him in, I would want to keep him here, right? I have no reason to want him gone. I like him as a player. He's a luxury item, though. We have C.J. Mosley. Mosley's here for several years. We don't need Williamson.
Yes, you do, because you need a right inside linebacker, and that's who he plays. So that's where you need to start him. Period.
And you just said yourself you're not going to bring him back next year, though.
No, I would. First off, it would depend on how he plays this year. It would depend on how he plays, which I think he's going to come back and be fine. But again, you want to get younger at those positions as well. So if
you're paying over $25 million at inside linebacker.
No, I'm not paying over $25 million at inside linebacker next year if we find a younger option to move on. That's what you can do. But why would you move on from him? Again,
the one I've seen this year is Neville Hewitt, Burgess, and Cashman can actually play better than those next to C.J. Mosley.
You keep acting like those guys are just outrageous, off the charts. That's not true.
Not at all. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying they're a fraction of the price with Avery Williamson, and you can use his money to invest at a premium position.
Dude, we're fine. We can still do that and keep him on this roster. We can still invest money in premium positions and keep him on this roster. That's not a big deal. Again, that's why I keep telling you, like, you keep doing anything to talk about other stuff when we should be talking about why C.J. Mosley getting paid $18 million, because your boy McCagnon did that deal.
I'm fine with C.J. Mosley.
Of course you're fine with C.J. Mosley. You don't have any choice to, because you back Mike McCagnon left and right. You don't have any choice.
That has nothing to do with my opinion of the players that are still here. I've already admitted McCagnon should have been fired. Are we going to bring this up every single week? Like, it has nothing to do with the players that are still here. Because we build around this team right.
3 years, we sat on this program and we talked about how you need to get fired every week, and you were coming on here saying he shouldn't get fired. Every week you had an excuse. Every week you had a reason why we should keep him around. Every week you came on the show trying to tell us about his plan and how we need to get him.
I said how many times since? Yeah, he should have been fired. All right, cool. Can we move on and talk about how Joe Douglas can actually build around what's here? And you just said yourself, if you would have made those moves that I suggested with Conklin and Trent Williams, moves that he could have done, you said yourself, this is an offense that would be able to put up points. You take a receiver at 11, you have a number one wideout, that's an improvement over Robbie, and you have two anchors on your offensive line, you have a Hall of Fame running back, you have Jamison Crowder in the slot, you're getting Herndon back. I mean, how much more talent do we need for Gase to compete? That's the problem. The head coach makes everything 10 times worse. And that's what fans are realizing. He cannot elevate anybody on this roster.
Listen, I am not here defending Adam Gase. That's what I am not here.
Okay, exactly. You're admitting he's a problem. So how do we evaluate what's here on offense? How do we know what Sam Darnold can be? If he's a top 10 quarterback, what top 10 quarterback in the league, paired with a good head coach, throughout the history of the NFL, doesn't win consistently? When you have that combination, you're expected to win year after year. So if you have that, and you have the best safety tandem in football with C.J. Mosley and, all the other pieces I named on offense, like, you don't have everything perfect, but you have some more than enough talent to win. More than enough. With a good coach. But we don't have a good coach. At least I don't think so.
Well, yeah, no, I'll agree with you there. That's something we could definitely agree on. I don't think that Adam Gase is the guy. I talked about it since the day we hired him, that we had no business doing that. But still, yet he's here. And you know what's crazy? If you don't like Adam Gase, you can blame yourself for that, too, because Mike McCagnon was the guy that hired him.
Oh, my God. Here we go.
You like that? You like that? Yeah, here we go again. Here we go again. You thought you were going to get away, didn't you? I'll just change the subject. Wait.
2 years from now, when Joe Douglas is still signing a one-year contract, we're still going to be blaming Mike McCagnon for Christian Hackenberg and Ardarius Stewart and everybody else.
No. I'm just making you accountable for your takes. Because you sit back, you tried to change it, and I'm telling you, I'm bringing it right back.
No, I'm not trying to change on my take.
You're trying to change the fact that you're sitting here going, oh, well, I don't like Adam Gase, I don't like this. But how can you not like all the things?
Talk to everybody
back Mike McCagnon. That makes no sense.